what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Rick Kamla and A.M. Pfeffer holding it down in our LA studios. Anchor, businessman, author. A.M., it's you and me right now. Soon we're going to be welcoming in Dr. X. Soon, hopefully, we'll be welcoming in Dwight Walton. He's got some tech issues right now. Brandon Armstrong he'll be falling in at some point here. And Dennis Scott's busy with his duties with the ACC network. It is you and me right now. The fellas are going to fall into the fold here soon. AM, what's up?
What's happening, my man? KAM. We are melding together, the two of us, holding down the field. We'll hold it down until everybody gets back.
AM and Cam. Cam and AM. I like this. If you take the dots out. And I'm super excited about this. Rick Barry is going to join the program at 3 p.m. Eastern time, about an hour from now. Of course, Hall of Famer, legend. I go way back with him. I worked with him the first year of Sirius XM NBA radio. They put us together on a show. Did not know Rick at the time. We've developed a really, really good friendship that's gone on, 20 plus years to this day. So beyond excited to have him on, AM. You're an old school hoop fan. I'm an old school hoop fan. Are you fair to partly geeked about having Rick Barry on?
Dude, all day long. This is me in front of the mirror all day long. This is my morning. I'm just practicing my underhand shot. I can't wait to have Rick Barry on. Meet this man, have a conversation, hear from the legend. I'm pumped.
So they were recently honored. The 1975 championship team, the 50th anniversary, they were honored at Chase Center 2 Fridays ago. Last week was Thanksgiving week. We tried to get Rick on a little bit earlier, but this is perfect. And so they honored him and the team, the surviving members of that team in 1975. We'll talk with Rick about that and a bunch of other stuff and have a good time. All right, let's get to the top story here, AM. It is Lane Kiffin. Can you blame Lane? A lot of people are. Some people are taking his back. Let's see where we are. Let's give the people the details here. Kiffin left Ole Miss to take the job at LSU, will not coach the Rebels in the college football playoff. It's a pretty unprecedented position here, bailing not on a 5-5 or, 5-7 team, bailing on, a team going to a crummy bowl game. You're bailing on a college football championship contending team, okay? His deal with LSU, 7 years, about $12 million annually. It's about $100 million total. There's potential for bonuses. It's important to note that Ole Miss offered him more money to stay in Oxford, and he still bolted for LSU. Pete Golding has been named the Ole Miss permanent coach, not interim. He was their defensive coordinator, and they're 11-1. Ole Miss is. They just beat Mississippi State 38-19. They're basically a lock for the 12 in the playoff. And so, AM, go first on this one, man. Can you blame Lane?
No, not at all. Look, in Lane Kiffin land, the 6 years he gave to Ole Miss might as well have been 60. And I'm sure you're going to touch on a little bit more of his history. It's interesting. His first 8 years and where he bounced around to and how he fell out of Tennessee and how he got fired on the tarmac, blah, 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 and what he went through with Saban before he went then down, and had to rebuild his career as a head coach and all of that. But look what he did at Ole Miss. He showed up in 2020 and they went 5-5, right? And then through the years, he had winning records. This is a winning coach. And as persnickety as he is, because that's probably the best word for him at this point, and as lightning rod as he is, he gets it done. That's what LSU needs. This is college football. And if you're a college football coach, unless you have some ties to an area like Kurt Signetti, for instance, and why he potentially is going to stay at Indiana and is happy where he is. You look at where he comes from and his part of the Midwest and how he loves it there and how they've embraced him. Very in Kiffin's world. If you're a head coach, a college football head coach, and you are top of the mountain, you want to be at a top 5 program. That's LSU. They have all the resources. They have the history, the lineage, including Nick Saban before he bolted and left where he did and ended up in Miami and then ultimately in Bama. But where else do you go? What else do you do but end up at LSU? Like Roy Williams leaves Candace and ends up at UNC. This is it, man. This is where he needs to be. And give him credit, right? Because he left Ole Miss in good shape. What do I mean by that? Jackson Dart was there for 3 years, and after he was gone, look what they've been this year. They're in the national championship contention. It's not always about money. Of course, it is still about $100 million, but who cares if Mississippi was offering him a little bit more money to stay in Oxford, whatever it is. He came down and did what he needed to do over 6 years for the program. Mississippi knew what they were getting into, or they should have known what they were getting into. You've got to be eyes wide open when you're hiring a guy like Lane Kiffin. They should take the 5 or 6 years of success that they had and be happy that they had it. Hopefully they hire somebody else and can build off of what Lane Kiffin did and made them an SEC stalwart. But Lane Kiffin belongs at LSU. This is where he needs to be. This is actually better for college football. I do not get all the griping. I don't get all the sniping. It's Lane Kiffin. What did we all expect?
The sniping and all that kind of stuff. He's an easy target. He's a villain. He's an established villain, and this is all stuff, Am, of course, you know. And so it's easy to grab the bat and hit the piñata, aka the villain. People love banging on Dillon Brooks. We're going to get to him in a minute here. He's a notorious villain in the NBA. And Lane Kiffin is a notorious villain in college football. Let's go into his history here real quick, and I'll give you my answer. Lane Kiffin, the villain piece. Let me flesh this out. Lane Kiffin has always been a villain, and he always will be a villain. He is going to mess with LSU at some point. He may go to the NFL and leave LSU high and dry. That's what he does, or he gets fired. And it's always messy on the way out with Lane Kiffin. But he's a hell of a coach. So let's go back through his history here a little bit. He now has 5 of the messiest departures in recent history. Left the Raiders. He was fired 4 games into his second season. That didn't go well. Left Tennessee after 1 season, something that I've heard he say he regrets, but he did it. He left USC. Pat Hayden, the former USC AD, fired him on the tarmac when the plane at 3 a.m. When the plane landed off a loss. I don't remember who they lost to, but they lost, huge game, and they lost, and bam, they whacked Lane Kiffin on the freaking tarmac. That's gangster style. He left Alabama. Nick Saban told him to leave the team before the national championship game. Okay, and now Nick was one of the guys that Lane consulted on the decision to leave Ole Miss for LSU. So apparently those wounds have healed, and he leaves Ole Miss on the brink of the college football playoff and perhaps a national championship. He is the billboard for lack of loyalty and looking out for yourself and only yourself. He actually even goes higher than Brian Kelly, former LSU coach, in that regard. I can't stand Brian Kelly. I don't like looking at him. I don't like listening to him. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches of this generation. How do you not win with Jaden Daniels? Are you crazy? Because you had a terrible defense. But Brian Kelly is a villain, but he's not an effective villain. He wants to be the villain that Lane Kiffin is. Lane Kiffin's a gangster, okay? Brian Kelly wants to be a gangster. And Brian Kelly's going to live the rest of his life at a country club on a golf course, okay? Spending all the money he's getting from LSU here, all right? He's okay. But this is Lane Kiffin. There are probably some talking heads that don't really know a whole lot about college football, right? Okay, I'm invested. I know you're invested. I play college football fantasy, AM, okay? Like fantasy football for college football, all right? I just won my big money league, and it was all of Division I, 134 teams, okay? It's very, very, very difficult. How many of the main talking heads around town do you think go even 1/10 as deep as that? So I think a lot of people, AM, are talking about college football because they have to, because this is a gigantic story. It reminds me of the WNBA. When something big happens there, a lot of people don't watch the WNBA. Shame on them. But when it comes to that time, they then have to talk about the WNBA, Colin Cowherd, and he knows nothing about it. And he sounds really foolish with what he's saying. I think part of it is that, like, if non-college football heads are just banging on Lane Kiffin and banging on the, how could he do this? How could he leave his team behind? You haven't been paying any attention. This is what he does. AM, back to you, man.
This is what he does. This is who he is. And you're right. Look, like any sport, college football needs its villains, and he's a great villain. And I love what you said about Brian Kelly. Remember when he showed up down at his first LSU press conference, and all of a sudden he had like a Southern drawl when he was standing up there? I mean, he is like the opposite of gangster. Lane Kiffin is a real gangster, and he's going to fit very well down in Louisiana where he's heading. And it's absolutely perfect that he ends up at LSU. I got no problem with Lane Kiffin. When you're that good of a coach and you have the track record of success that he does, fine that you have no loyalty. And look, college football specifically, more than anything else, is all about loyalty, even more than the professional sports, right? You're supposed to be rah-rah for the alma mater. You're supposed to be rah-rah for the banners and the kids and the student body and the teachers that are there putting in the sweat and the tears and all the people and the money that is passed through these famed institutions. And that's not fair. That's a little too much to put on these guys. Lane Kiffin was going to end up at a top 5 program at some point. That is where he is headed. I have no problem with this. And I honestly have no problem with how this is ended, and where he's ended up. And I love that you brought up the fact that he consulted Saban. And Saban was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? What is this conversation we're even having? That's what I assumed that they were talking about over their coffee and kibitzing a little bit. There's no question. He was like, dude, get on the plane and get down to LSU. You did what you were supposed to down in Oxford, and you did it very well, and good for them. Now they've got a chance to be one of the top 12 teams and make it to the national championship game. I don't think Lane Kiffin cares that much whether he plays for that at Ole Miss, and he knows they're probably not going to win this year. Get down to LSU, build the program, and become a top 10 stalwart again.
The clock is ticking. January 2nd is when the transfer portal opens up. It's December 2nd. So if why would Lane leave this team? I mean, he had to. Okay. And if you're Ole Miss, hell no, I'm not letting you coach my team. He can't. He's already LSU's property. He's an employee of LSU, aka the enemy. No, he can't coach at Ole Miss. Okay. You make the decision to bail and take the better job, and it is a way better job. And that's fine. But you can't coach the team. And so I'm sure Lane is perfectly at peace with this. I'm sure Lane is working on college football free agency right now as we speak. Okay. So my answer, no, you can't blame Lane Kiffin. You can if you don't understand college football or upwardly mobile business decisions in the United States of America. There are people, oh, you can't do this to the kids. You can't do this to the kids. It's such a cop-out take. It is. It's like these kids, they go from school to school to school to school through the transfer portal. They make a commitment to a coach, and then they're 5th on the depth chart, and then they bail and they go to a smaller school and they're 1st on the depth chart. And I'm not mad at them, okay? There is no loyalty in college football anymore. It is the wild, wild west. There's no loyalty in sports anymore, okay? There isn't. I shouldn't say that. There is some loyalty, but most of the time when these decisions come down to it, loyalty goes out the window, and it's all about business and monetization and what can I do for me? Okay. And if you don't understand that, like you're not even just paying attention to humanity and society. If you want to play the blame game, blame NIL. And I don't. I love NIL. I think NIL should have been going on when Bo Jackson was playing and when Archie Griffin was playing and the whole damn time. All these guys should have been getting paid, and ladies. But if you want to play the blame game, don't blame Lane Kiffin. Don't blame Ole Miss, the AD and all that kind. Don't blame LSU for making this aggressive move. Blame NIL, okay? And good luck with that. It's not a person, it's a thing. But Ole Miss offered him more money, yes. But Ole Miss is not a big-time player in college football free agency, a.k.a. the transfer portal. With Lane Kiffin, they were, because Lane is so smart and such a great talent evaluator, and he brought all kinds of great talent into Ole Miss, okay? You're welcome, Ole Miss fans. But they're not a player in the portal like LSU is. Check out these numbers. Lane Kiffin has a $25 million NIL budget starting January 2nd. According to reports, Ole Miss had a $10 million NIL budget last year. Okay, 25 mil 10 mil, Lane Kiffin, picking the groceries, picking the ingredients for the stew, okay, I like his chances. So it's not about AM. It was way less about, okay, I can make more money at Ole Miss. And it was way more about, dude, it's $15 million more to build my team with through NIL at LSU. That's why Lane Kiffin moved.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's no question about it. You're talking about a massive percentage jump. And you know something, and I love you, again, bringing up the NIL, but I think it's important to always not just rely on the acronym. NIL almost seems like a villain when you just use the term NIL. It is name, image, likeness. The audience needs to understand what they are up against, what coaches are up against, and even what other players are up against out there. What has changed in the face of college sports? The name, image, likeness, the money that is coming into this, the ability to transfer year after year after year. If the players get to do it, the coaches do too. Again, I have no problem with what Lane Kiffin did. This is Louisiana State University. Every single one of us who otherwise would have fantasized about coaching at a program, LSU, baby, every third to fourth year, you are in the national championship mix. And with Lane Kiffin, now you're going to be there every year.
All right, my friend, a couple more points here on Lane. We're about to have Dwight Walton jump in the fold here. I certainly want his inner group chat. Oh, there he is, Dwight Walton, Canadian basketball legend, is in the fold, baby. Dwight, what's up? First of all, how you doing, my friend? Welcome back.
Thank you very much. I'm doing much better, feeling good, and I can't wait to tackle this Lane Kiffin topic. I'm all in on this.
So your timing is absolutely perfect because me and AM, we've been playing some tennis here. You know, the question is, can you blame Lane? I'll give you our answers here in a second, Dwight, but what's your answer?
Again, it's easy for all the fans, media, pundits alike to sit on our soapboxes and to be critical of Lane Kiffin. Trust me, we understand the background. He has a propensity of not being loyal and leaving programs for something better. We totally get it. He hasn't handled this whole situation the way we think he should. But at the end of the day, as I'm sure you guys have said, this is Louisiana State University. With no disrespect to Oxford, Mississippi, and Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin did a fantastic job by rebuilding that program over the past 4 years. And yes, they have a legitimate shot at winning the national championship this season. But we have to take into account, as you guys I'm sure have said, the NIL and the NCAA scheduling in terms of college football and their transfer portals, their recruiting periods. These need to be addressed immediately. So situations like this, which involves Lane Kiffin, and the fact of the matter is there are other coaches who have done the exact same thing, but they're not Lane Kiffin, and their schools have allowed these coaches to remain on as coaches, knowing full well that within the next month or 6 weeks, they're also going to be leaving to go to better programs. But it is Lane Kiffin. He is a polarizing figure. He's done this before, so he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. However, any one of us would have made this decision. You're getting a $5 million bump in salary. You're going to a program that has more access to NIL money than the other school. LSU has $25 million. Ole Miss has $10 million. That's just the reality of the whole situation. He gets to recruit the players he wants to recruit. He gets to go to a program that has legitimate chances at winning a national championship every single year. What I don't like is that it's pretty clear that LSU was tampering with Lane Kiffin, insider trading, if you will, by going after Lane himself, by going after Lane's assistant coaches. And I'm sure they were going after some of Lane's players that are currently on Ole Miss. And if I know Lane Kiffin at all, I'm sure he's been quietly recruiting some of his current Ole Miss players to go with him to LSU. So that's why this seems so down and dirty. So I understand that. But again, any one of us would have taken the $5 million bump in salary, and any one of us would want to coach, and leave our legacy at a blue blood program like LSU. It's a better situation. It's more money. It is what it is. I don't blame Lane Kiffin one bit. To going, how he handled it, maybe. But to leave to go to a better situation, absolutely not.
I love the takes, Dwight. So it's 3 for 3. We all agree. You can't blame Lane. I mean, you can, but we're not over here. It's just Lane Kiffin, LSU, like college football has a target. They have a villain. They have a great narrative going into next season. And, what Lane Kiffin's going to do is supercharge that offense everywhere. I mean, he's an offensive genius. He's an offensive guru. He's always got great quarterbacks. He's a great quarterback whisperer. And LSU, and look, it's not just NIL and the transfer portal. It's also, and you guys both know this, the recruiting trail in the SEC is brutal. I mean, it's so competitive. That's why Ole Miss isn't letting them play, right, Dwight? I mean, it's the SEC, right? I mean, it's just super, super competitive and not wanting to give anybody else in the conference an inch. And so I understand maybe some of the other schools letting guys coach and play it out. But in the SEC, like Dwight and Am, could you imagine Ole Miss fans? Don't you think Ole Miss fans would be really ticked off if the AD let Lane coach these games? Or do you think Ole Miss fans would be happy that Lane is coaching, even though he's got 1 foot out the door?
Well, the reality is Ole Miss is a rival of LSU. That's just the reality. So there's no way that this could not have gone any worse for Lane Kiffin in terms of that. There's no way Ole Miss was going to allow Lane Kiffin to coach their team, no matter how close they are to a national championship, while they know in their heads and their minds that he's going to a rival school in LSU. This is SEC. It's recruiting. It's the recruiting wars. It's all encapsulated into one big drama, controversy, whatever you want to call it. This is how it is. So I can't blame Ole Miss and their administration for not wanting Lane. They're calling him a traitor right now. That's just the reality of the situation. But again, until the NC2A changes their schedule, this is going to continue. The reality is college sports is now professional sports. The transfer portal is free agency. That's what it is. These coaches are trying to go to the best situations to where they can win, and somehow at some point in their career, they know this will propel them to a possible NFL coaching career as well. I know Lane has dabbled into that. I think he's trying to get back to that, and I think this LSU gig is possibly on that path again to where he gets back to the National Football League.
Bang. That's how I see this ending. I do. I think he's going to be at LSU for a series of years, probably win a natty or two, and I think he's going to bolt for the NFL, and it's going to be ugly, okay, and it's going to be nefarious and disloyal and all the Lane Kiffin stuff. It's what it is. I mean, it's like LeBron James scoring in double figures. Oh, as we segue into that. So, I mean, it's just a foregone conclusion, Brunt, although last night it wasn't. So anyway, here's the deal, guys. Let's move to the NBA here a little bit. We had the Dillon Brooks game last night, or was it a cause concern for the LA Lakers? Let me set us up with some facts. Dillon Brooks had 33 last night. He was phenomenal. Colin Gillespie hit 8 threes, had 16 points in the fourth quarter, career high 28. He lifted his game after Devin Booker left in the first half with a right groin injury. Not sure how long he's going to miss. The Lakers came in on a 7-game winning streak, but Phoenix beat them in LA 125-108 last night. LeBron needed a 3-ball halfway through the fourth quarter to get to 10, just 10, and keep his streak alive. 1,297 consecutive regular season games at 10 or more points, most all time. So AM, you first here. Was that just the Dillon Brooks game or a cause for concern for the LA Lakers?
That was the Dillon Brooks game. I'm not causing for concern yet for the LA Lakers. This is a team that is still working LeBron back into the lineup. There's going to be some bumps in the road. It hasn't been that long since he's come back. It's fine. Doncic is otherworldly right now. They're still 15-5. It happens. And by the way, let's talk about Phoenix for a second. A 500 club team, by the way. I was always hot on them in the beginning of the season. It was a reason I wanted to do that segment and a reason I was interested in seeing them. They are outperforming, I think, what a lot of people have thought, and a lot of that has to do with Dillon Brooks playing. Obviously, the emergence of Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal, of course, and Gillespie too, because Jalen Green hasn't even done much. But yeah, this was a Dillon Brooks game. And guess what? He's a very good defensive player, and he is somebody who sets the tempo for his team. So good on Phoenix for winning that team. I'm not causing for concern with the Lakers. They're not a defensive stalwart team. We know that. There's that word again. I'm using stalwart a lot today. I'll try not to the rest of the show. But you know, again, they're not a big defensive team, but they're also not terrible in their defensive efficiency and ratings. I'm actually impressed with how well they're doing this year. And now that LeBron's back, and again, he of the ageless wonder has some defensive deficiencies himself, you're going to expect that this happens. It's not like they just won 9 in a row and then lost 9 in a row. They lost a game to the Phoenix Suns, who are on the upswing and are doing well. The 13-win Phoenix Suns, by the way, the same win total as the 5th place the San Antonio Spurs, the same win total as the 3rd place Houston Rockets out in the West. So this is, to me, a lot more about Phoenix and a lot more about Dillon Brooks than it is any cause for concern for the Lakers yet.
Great answers. I've got to go thought bubble on you and Dwight and our great audience here real quick, because you just brought up something that bothered the heck out of me on Thanksgiving. You said you've been using the word stalwart too much. So it triggered a flashback, an unsavory flashback, to a savory day, Thanksgiving, when I'm watching Tony Romo on the Chiefs-Cowboys game. That was the game he had, right? He said monster something 4 times in the second half. He might have said it in the first half. I don't know. I think I had the volume down. I cannot stand Tony Romo as a broadcaster. But AM, you can say stalwart 15 more times in this broadcast and not be nearly as annoying as Tony Romo was on Thanksgiving. Dude, every play was a monster play. Oh, Jim, this is a monster play coming up. Did you guys notice that as well, or was it just me on my couch in Clearwater, Florida?
Noticed. Yeah. That's Romo. He's got a limited vocabulary. Let's call it like it is, man. There's only so many plays in his playbook on the announcing couch.
You know what? As a Tony Romo apologist, of course, I'm the resident Dallas Cowboys fan. I get it. I like Tony because he gives you his mind through the eyes of a quarterback. He was a great quarterback, in my opinion, in the National Football League. Yes, he had some blunders that he's probably most known for, right? But he will go down as one of the best quarterbacks in Dallas Cowboys history. So that is the reality. That's who he was. But I like the foresight that he brings to a broadcast, because he tells the viewer what he thinks is going to happen on a play, which is going to happen 10 seconds later. So that's what he brings. But yes, every play in that Kansas City Dallas Cowboy game this past Thanksgiving Thursday was a monster play. It was a huge play because, in essence, as he called it, it was a regular season playoff game. That's what it was. Both teams needed the victory. My beloved Cowboys came out on top. I was very impressed with what happened. And to segue into your question at the beginning of this segment, Rick, if this was a Dillon Brooks or a Dillon Brooks game or a cause for concern with the Lakers, I equate what the Dallas Cowboys are doing to what the Lakers will have to do this season. This is what I mean by that. The Lakers are going to be great offensively. They've improved exponentially since LeBron James has come back to the lineup. However, they are not a great team defensively, whether it's because they've got players that can't do it on an elite level, as some of the elite teams that we have in the league, the OKCs, the Houstons, the Denvers, teams of that ilk. I get it. They are better defensively. They may have younger athletes, younger studs on the perimeter, but as long as the Lakers can get stops in key moments, and I'm talking down against the better teams And come playoff time, their offense will always keep them afloat and in games. That's where the Cowboys are now since the trade deadline in the National Football League. And I think that's where the Lakers will be. I think last night was an anomaly. The Lakers aren't great defensively, but the Phoenix Suns came into that game last night as one of the better three-point shooting teams that we currently have in the NBA. So, of course, Dillon Brooks, who is a much improved offensive player and a very motivated player, in particular when he goes up against any LeBron James team, and Colin Gillespie, let's call it as it is, another undrafted player who is definitely doing his job. He's undersized, but if he has his feet set, he's going to knock down threes, and they're athletic. They caught the Lakers on the second night of a back-to-back. They got out and ran. The Lakers turned over the ball 24 times last night, and it seemed like every time down the floor, the Suns converted on those turnovers. So I think we're not going to see that on a regular basis. The Suns caught the Lakers on a good night for them, and the Lakers will be good. They'll be decent defensively, just get stops. We need to get stops because their offense will take care of itself. The way Luka Doncic is playing, averaging 14 points every first quarter, averaging 21 points every first half. This guy has the most 20-point first quarters since 1996. This guy is having a historic season offensively, definitely in the MVP conversation. As long as those things stay true to form and Austin Reeves is on his way to a most improved player campaign this season, the Lakers will be just fine. That was a Dillon Brooks game more than a Lakers game.
I'm going to take the other side on this, guys. I mean, it's both. It was a Dillon Brooks game, and he was taunting and I love Dillon Brooks. I love the antics. I wish he would embrace the villain role more. And what I mean by that is, like, you're a villain. You're obviously a villain. You play like a villain. You do dirty stuff. You do villain stuff. It all helps winning, by the way. But then, they ask him, are you a villain? No, I'm not a villain. That's just a media creation. That's something you guys come up with. Just own it. You're a villain. It's a sports term. It's not and what I've always said about Dillon Brooks, guys, is if you own and embrace the villain role, you are going to get sponsorships out of that. Be the villain. Be the villain. Let some company get a creative thought and have you as their campaign and some anti-hero villain thing. I don't dang know. I'm not in that but like that's your brand. That's the brand you've built. Own it. Don't run from it. Monetize it. So anyway, I got a ton of love for Dillon Brooks. But guys, fast break points were 16-0 at halftime. 16-0. Okay, this is a cause concern for the Lakers for me because they're very slow and they're very unathletic. And Phoenix and Jordan Ott, the rookie head coach, he just said they're on it. And to me, this is too simple. If you're the Lakers, you got to have a counter to this. You can't just go out like this. Jordan Ott said, all right, they played with their food in the second half against New Orleans. They had to play the game longer than they wanted to, right? They should have slaughtered New Orleans on Sunday night. A non-Bron game, by the way. He rested for that game. Played last night and did not play well. So you got to handle your business against New Orleans. But Phoenix and Jordan Ott was like, second of a back-to-back, we're just going to run these dudes. We want their tongues hanging out, and we just want to wear them down, okay? And it's a great coaching strategy, and it completely freaking worked, okay? But it should not have worked. Devin Booker left with like a quarter into the game, okay? And you can't mount a comeback? You can't make any push at all? Because they never did. Phoenix got up 15 or 17 or whatever, and LA would get 2 buckets, and then immediately the run would stop, and that was it. They never really challenged Phoenix last night. That's a concern. The lack of speed and athleticism is a concern. The fact that a rookie head coach without Jalen Green and mostly without Devin Booker went in there and beat you with Dillon Brooks and Colin Gillespie? What the hell is that, man? No. You just won 7 in a row. A lot of the metrics look really, really good. But I think this was a sort of spotlight or a microscopic view on some of the issues. When you turn over the turtle, we're looking at the underbelly now. And there's some stuff there. OKC's flawless. The Lakers are not flawless. Every other team in the league has flaws. OKC doesn't. But to me, this was a mild cause for concern. I'm not pushing buttons. It's not DEFCON anything. But to me, if you're the Lakers, you got to make that a game. And guys, LeBron James, this was supposed to be the LeBron James ride in on the white horse with the shield and the sword held high to save the day. The guys played without you on Sunday, got it done, they won. And so now you're coming back at home against Phoenix. You got to play way better than that, dude. Like, did you guys feel LeBron James at all last night? I didn't. Dude was going through the motions. And I'm not mad at him. I love LeBron James. But, like, they needed so much more from Bron last night. And so that's it. And like, with LeBron James, I feel like his impact is just starting to drop a little bit. Like, the stats still look good last night. They didn't. But, like, the impact, I don't know. I need to see more from Bron. Guys, and maybe he's kind of easing into it or something like that. We got a long climb to the playoffs and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it was a mild cause for concern with the LA Lakers. All right, it is beyond the surface here. Dwight, if you have a comment, go ahead, my friend.
No, it's not any pushback. I just think LeBron is not trying to step on anybody's toes. He's not trying to say, listen, I'm LeBron, I'm still here. When you've got two players in LeBron, in Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, who have pretty much taken command of this Lakers offense, LeBron is just trying to simply ease his way in. And it does look at times, I will admit this, like he's just on the court to be on the court. You want to see him show some assertiveness. I understand that. But what I'm not concerned about is that when it's time to shine and when it's time to put his imprint on the game, you can best believe LeBron James will put his imprint on the game. The reality is it was a Monday night, a December game in the National Basketball Association. He didn't deem it important. He deemed it important enough to be on the floor in the fourth quarter with under 7 minutes to go to make sure he continued his double-figure streak. I get that part. He seemed to wanted to make sure he got that before he went back to the bench. And we could agree or disagree on that. The reality is it is a pretty long streak. He has been in that double-figure streak since 2007. And if it was me, I'd want to keep the streak alive as well. But again, he is a polarizing figure. So some people are going to have their angst or trepidation against that. And I get that. But to me, LeBron is fine. He is aging. He is not the same player. But when it comes to important games, trust me, he will have an imprint. He will put his footprint on any game that's necessary going forward.
Yeah, I want to say something about this notion of cause for concern. I just want to be clear about this. Why am I not as concerned about the Lakers? Because I don't put them in the elite category, right? To be concerned about a team, to me, is like, am I concerned that they're going to lose their grip on the top three spots? But OKC, Denver, and in my opinion, Houston are better than the Lakers. So here they are in that fourth spot. And, to me, they're also battling with Minnesota. I think Minnesota could surge back up there. And I know they've beaten them twice in the regular season. We'll see how things progress as the season goes along. But I think they're right where they need to be. And they're doing even better than a lot of people expected, myself included. Not tremendously better. I did expect them in the mix, but they are doing very well at the beginning of the season, especially because of the love fest between Reeves and Doncic. Certainly, yeah, you want to be concerned about LeBron a little bit? Sure. Concerned about the Lakers? I think you need to be a top three team anyway to feel that concern, and they're just not there. I want that on the record.
Those are good points. It is officially on the record. Your objection has been sustained, A.M. Pfeffer. It is Rick Kamla. It is Dwight Walton. And we are Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Brandon Armstrong is going to be joining us here soon. Dr. X is going to be joining us at some point. And a big tease for you here, folks. Hall of Famer Rick Barry is going to join us in about 19 minutes, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Hall of Famer Rick Barry will be joining us here on Beyond the Surface. All right, so let's move on here, dudes, and let's talk about. I'm excited for this conversation, man. Who is the Batman in Atlanta? Why am I asking this? Jalen Johnson has been phenomenal. He hasn't been great. He hasn't been incredible. He's been phenomenal. Do you guys know that Jalen Johnson is averaging 7 dimes a game? You tell he's averaging a double-double. All right, cool. It's impressive. 7 dimes, guys. He's on a heater of massive proportions. Pardon me, monster proportions. I got you, Tony. So Jalen Johnson last night, 29, 13, and 7. Second of a back-to-back. They almost beat Detroit at Little Caesar Arena. Really good game, by the way. Game before, 41, 14, and 7 to help Atlanta win that double overtime thriller against Philly where Maxey made the big shot. Atlanta won. All right, previous game, Atlanta beats Cleveland. Jalen Johnson goes 29, 12, and 12. It's called a triple-double. So last night's loss was damaging, right? It dropped them from 5 to 7, but they're still 13 and 9. The Hawks are in this even without Trae. They're 10 and 6 in the 16 games that Trae Young has missed. 10 and 6, okay? Jalen Johnson in those games has 11 double-doubles and 2 triple-doubles. Trae Young is still out indefinitely, guys. This came out yesterday. Sprained right MCL, progressing well, but the team says he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks, okay? That puts us at the middle of December. Reevaluated doesn't mean you're coming back. So Trae could miss all or most of December, all right? And we just don't know when he's going to come back right now. So I want to go to Dwight first on this, Dwight. Who is the Batman in Atlanta? Coming into the season, it was Trae. Have things changed? Is it still Trae? Who's the Batman in Atlanta?
Or are you saying Trae is the Batman for sure? Jalen Johnson. Now, I want to take you back to last February. The Hawks were on a little bit of a run. They were playing well at that point of the season. And then Jalen Johnson suffers an unfortunate shoulder injury that kept him out for the rest of the season. And to me, it's not a coincidence that the Hawks' season went downhill after that. And when the Hawks this offseason acquired Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kennard, and I knew Jalen Johnson was coming back into the fold, I had the Hawks as a top 3 finisher before the season in the Eastern Conference because of the injuries to Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton. So I thought the Hawks could take advantage of the depleted injury teams at the top of the Eastern Conference. And then the offseason where Trae Young wasn't offered to sign his max extension. I believe now Trae Young has improved immensely in terms of his leadership, both on and off the floor. Had a tremendous season in that regard last season. But I think the front office of the Hawks remained skeptical, and they wanted to see how Trae was going to perform with what could be perceived as the best roster that has ever been put around him since he's been an Atlanta Hawk. So I think there was still some optimism there just to see can Trae, catapult his way off of last season and be an even better leader this season. But unfortunately for him, he has suffered an injury that may keep him out until the beginning of the new year here in 2026. And as you said, Rick, the Hawks are 10 and 6 without Trae Young, and the Hawks also are better defensively without Trae Young. Dyson Daniels, definitely in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation last season, led the NBA in steals. He's a much improved offensive player this season. I'm not saying that the Hawks are better overall without Trae Young, but the reality is they didn't sign him. They're better defensively. Could this be a precursor to where the Hawks make a move and say, you know what, let's see what we can get for Trae in terms of draft capital, maybe a rotation player or two off of a team that's willing to take on Trae Young and his future contract negotiations. That's where the Hawks are right now. They're a team that could definitely be in the top of the Eastern Conference, but a decision has to be made in regards to Trae Young because Jalen Johnson has become that Robin to Trae Young's Batman, And do the Hawks as an organization feel that they can build a championship contender around the youthful overall play of a Jalen Johnson who's off to a monstrous start to a season and has shown the versatility in what is paramount in today's NBA. If you're going to be a player who's in the 6'8" to 6'10" realm and can do all of the things, dribble, pass, and shoot, and bring an elite level in terms of his defensive prowess.
Trinity just said Quinn Snyder is doing it, and I'm paraphrasing, but one of the comments from our audience members, we really appreciate you guys and girls out there. So AM, you are up next here. There it is, Trinity CDQ. Quinn Snyder has them rolling, indeed. Last night was a win and a loss. I know that sounds weird. There are no moral victories, but second of a back-to-back, you're at day trois. Cade Cunningham was amazing last night, defensively especially, and it's one possession game basically. That nothing to be ashamed of, Hawks fans. All right, AM, who is the Batman in Atlanta? Is it Jalen Johnson or Trae Young?
I'm gearing up for this conversation. I gotta crack a few knuckles, shake out. I'm so happy we're here having this talk. Maybe it's the Knicks fan in me, but I have never been a Trae Young guy. He gave us 2.5 years when he came in the league that was somewhat exciting, but I don't love his style of play. I didn't love his future on Atlanta. I didn't like the fact that he is the Batman in Atlanta, and I do think that they have done the right thing, kicking the can down the road, not paying him yet, and should ultimately trade him. And I'm excited to see what ultimately comes back their way for this because they have the core and the nucleus that they need already. Now, Trae Young aside for a second, who wants to be the Batman on Atlanta? Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The way he plays, he thinks he's the guy. And look, all credit is due. I'm going to give him some credit because the first half of this season, he was an absolute albatross for the team and he was costing them games. He has since stepped it up. His plus-minus is a lot better. His PER is a lot better. And I think he stepped in line, and Quinn Snyder's done a very good job in getting him in line. But Jalen Johnson is absolutely the Batman on this team and should be. Rick, Dwight, I'm a guy who loves a small forward as your best player. I don't know what it is, but that is my NBA, man. LeBron, Bird, Elgin, Hondo, Paul the Truth, Dr. J, and a guy who's coming on in just a couple of minutes, the great Rick Barry, right, was a small forward and the best player on his team of his era. I love it. It just couldn't be more kismet that we're even having this conversation. And what are we even talking about? Look at Jalen Johnson's numbers. Look at his body type. Look at the way the entire team is bent towards his will now for the better. Bye, Trae Young. Jalen Johnson, put on the mask. You are the Batman. Oh, you're on mute. Rick, you're on mute.
Come on. I got a cold, so I'm trying to not have all the sniffles. All right, Brandon Armstrong in the fold, a.k.a. B. NBA impersonator, pro hooper. He's a rapper. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's a chef. He's an awesome family man. I love the intro for B. Man. He got the big smile right there. B. Who's the Batman in Atlanta, dude? Is it Jalen or Trae?
Oh, man, I went to the game because I'm from Atlanta. I went to the game last week when they played against the Cavs, and I'm looking at this team, and I'm like, yeah, they're going to have to get rid of Trae. And I'm trying to think, who would they trade for? What do they need? You feel me? Like, they have good ball handlers. They have solid point guards. I'm guessing maybe a center. Jalen Johnson is clearly the Batman of this team right now. And then you got a Robin with Nickeil Alexander-Walker emerging as that guy. And then you got what's the Butler's name? I forgot the Butler's name, but you got Dyson Daniels as the Butler, and then you got Onyeka. He just had 18 in the first quarter the other day. Then you got my man's, I forgot, coming off the bench. I think his last name is Wallace or something. I can't think. He's coming off the bench, a guard, played in the G League. He adds into it. Yes. And then my Caucasian American guy, who the shooter, number 20-something, tall. He can. Now I'm not talking about Luke, because Luke he's not even Porzingis. Yep. And I haven't even mentioned Porzingis. You got Luke Kennard trying to fight for minutes for this just to get in the roster. They're not even using him, or does he even need to be used? He hit 1-3 against the Cavaliers and then got subbed right out. So it's like this team is flowing. I'm loving what Jalen Johnson's doing and how he's looking, and he's taking that point guard role, that point forward role, and he's putting up numbers. This guy had 28 and 12 last night again. Like, it's like video game numbers, man. So I'm sorry, Trey. I love Trey, but he needs a new atmosphere, man. I don't know what they would trade for him. I don't want Ja Morant there. I don't want another ball heavy guard over there with Atlanta. I like their squad they have now. I don't know if you trade for a rim protector because they're kind of scarce in that big man role, that center power forward role, outside of Oneka. But man, yeah, Jalen Johnson's the man. Give him the keys to the city. Give him the keys to Magic City.
You know what? Fellas?
I want the keys to Magic City.
The Hawks may want Clint Capella back.
Come on now. I like that.
The Rockets ain't gonna give it no. I can tell you that.
So I'm with AM and B Dot here, and I love Trae Young. I'm a huge Trae Young guy. But Jalen Johnson's the Batman of this team. The most important thing going on here, it's not even what Jalen Johnson's doing on the court and the ascension, and he could be most improved. I know Dwight, you mentioned Austin Reeves clearly is going to be an all-star, and you pretty much got to be a first-time all-star to trigger MIP. It's not 100%, but it's about 90%. Usually you got to be a first-time all-star, but it looks like Jalen Johnson's going to be a first-time all-star too. That could be a good little race here. But the fact that the Hawks don't want to max out Trae Young and that we all see that divorce coming, I mean, that's it. That's the most important thing going on here. If you don't want to max out Trae Young, then this has to be his last year in a Hawk uniform, and it has to be a truncated year. You can't take it to the summer and he walks as a UFA and you have nothing to show for the Luka Doncic trade. Atlanta will freak out, and rightly so. My question is, because I've always looked at Trae Young as a 2, not a 1. He's been a 1 statistically and fit with this team and all that kind of stuff. But can you win a chip with Trae Young as your 1? I don't think you can. Okay. Can you win a chip with Jalen Johnson as your number 1? Who the heck knows, right? He's such a young player. But I would rather go that way and explore the unknown than have Trae Young and I'm butting my head against the wall every year knowing, all right, we may make a little run here, but we're not beating Shea and those guys. We're not beating, Jokic and we're not beating the big boys with Trae Young as our top player. It's not happening. It's not happening. So what's unfortunate, guys, is that Trae Young and Jalen Johnson have never gotten a fair shot to show what they can do together. They haven't. The last 2 years, Trae's been fabulous. Jalen's been fabulous, but he's been hurt all the time. And then this year, obviously, Jalen's fabulous, and you have Trae Young. He's out with this MCL injury. So it's always something with these guys. They're coming and going, and it's unfortunate. It kind of reminds me of the Brooklyn Big Three when they were hurt all the time. Word on the street is that Dr. X is going to be joining the show soon. We have Rick Barry right around the corner here, Hall of Famer. We're going to be talking about the 50th anniversary of the 1975 Warriors championship team. Rick calls it the greatest upset in major sports history. He's going to flesh that out, and we'll have a good time with him. But do we have Doc? Are we ready to bring him in? But guys, that's what I'm kind of where my head goes is like, it's unfortunate that Trae and Jalen haven't had a chance, really a fair shot to figure this out. And it looks like it's maybe going to kind of be a divorce before they ever get that opportunity.
And this is what I mean right here. There's a reason why the Hawks brass didn't sign Trae, but they also are curious as to how the Trae, Jalen Johnson, and this, again, perceived best roster that's ever been put around Trae Young, how it works out. They're not just going to trade Trae when he comes back. They're going to give it some time. They want to see how he meshes in with a group that has been successful without him up to this point. And again, the key to me is that while Trae Young will bring positivity to the Hawks, Will he make them a better team defensively? I don't think he will. And I think that's what eventually is going to help the Hawks be successful going forward. You could be as good offensively as you want. I think the Hawks have the requisite pieces in place to be not a good defensive team, but an elite defensive team led by the great Dyson Daniels on that end of the floor. And they've got Kristaps Porzingis, when healthy, is one of the better rim protectors that we currently have in the NBA. So I want to see how Trey fits himself back into this group when he comes back before any major decisions are made. I think that's where the Hawks are going to go. But eventually, I truly believe the Hawks brass wants Jalen Johnson to be their Batman rather than Trae Young going forward.
B-Dot, let me ask you a question. Going back to a debate question we had about Dillon Brooks, his 33-point game last night. You also had the Lakers obviously losing that game when Devin Booker got hurt. And we got Dr. Phil joining us as well. Dr. Phil, what's up, man? Dr. X, come on in here.
Yeah, I mean, all those points I heard the whole show. All those points are moot points, Dwight and everybody else, because the Knicks are coming out of the East. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Phil, hey, Jason and Kai, could you please cut Phil's camera off? Please. Please.
I love it, man. So Doc, you first. You had some passion on this. Was that just the Dillon Brooks game last night, or cause for concern with the Lakers a little bit?
Man, it's kind of hard to see in a vacuum. Like, LeBron is going to eventually bring it. He's going to have the 25-point game, 8-assist game. He's going to have some crazy blocks, some crazy fast break dunk. So all that's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. I think what you were asking earlier was if they could keep up with a team that runs them out the building. Will they be able to keep up with the team that runs? And absolutely, because, in a playoff series, it always slows down. And so if it slows down, that's going to be their game, especially with Luka, AR, and LeBron. You got three shot makers, shot creators out there. So I don't think it's a cause for concern. I'm happy for the people that live in Phoenix and are Phoenix fans because they have, as you were saying, a villain. He needs to embrace the role. And I think Dillon Brooks will be, kind of like that stopper type of player, but at least he could put up buckets as well. So he's kind of like the Josh Hart of that team, but more in the villain category than a hero.
B-Dot, you up on this as well. I love the Josh Hart comparison, Doc. Was that just the Dillon Brooks game last night, or did you detect some cause for concern with LAL?
I mean, it was the second game off of back-to-back, so if you want to add that in there, that can definitely take effect. Phoenix is much younger, even though they didn't have, Devin Booker. I told you guys about Dillon. I told you about the other DB. You feel me?
You
Dillon
did.
Brooks. Hey, come on now. That we could call him the Joker. If we got Batman, we're gonna call him the Joker because he went out there and it was a lot of jokes and a lot of players with buckets. Okay, so I don't want to say any concern with the Lakers in general. I think, like I said, the second game off of back-to-back. You had Colin Gillespie hit 9 threes. You feel me? 8 threes. He was going off and he was talking his junk. So I don't think you're gonna get that every game. So I think the Lakers are just fine. I think they're solid. And, Austin Reeves didn't have a good game either. So Rui, I don't even think Rui had any points. So I think the Lakers would be just fine. I love what the Suns are doing. I'm happy for them. But, I don't think it's cause for concern right now.
Hey, B-Dot, Charles Ben wants to know, is Dillon Brooks your favorite villain?
Oh, yeah, he's definitely top. He's definitely top 3. My Pat Bev, that's my brother. That's my guy. He's probably my number 1. He's probably my number 1 for sure. But Dillon's working his way up the charts for villain wise. I got Dillon. Dillon might be number 2. Dillon might be number 2 right after Pat Bev. But current NBA players, Dillon is definitely number 1 for sure.
Well, more than Draymond.
Ooh, Draymond, my God. Draymond, my God. Yeah, more than Draymond, man. More than Draymond. Just because Draymond, he's sizzling out, and you gotta hand that villain title over to somebody else. Just like how LeBron gotta hand that crown over, you gotta hand that villain title over to somebody else, and Dillon's the next one.
I love it, man. I love it. Dr. X, I want to go back to you. We're waiting Hall of Famer Rick Barry, who's going to be joining us soon. Let's go back to Lane Kiffin. We started the show with that. You got to take on we spent a little while on that, Dr. X. Can you blame Lane for leaving Ole Miss for LSU? Do you have a take on that?
Absolutely. I'm not really a college football guy, but for the most part, what I'm hearing from what you guys are saying, it was a business decision. And everybody loves to say it's a business decision, this is what it is. We would do that if we were in the same predicament. And I agree. I just think the optics don't look good. But if you look at it in a vacuum, discounting who has the sirens in the background? Is that in Canada? Dwight?
No.
Yeah, it is.
I come to Canada immediately. Talking about
You guys don't have emergencies over there.
stop it.
Anyway, yeah, I would say in a vacuum, I don't think it's an issue. But given, his checkered history with all the exits and, I just feel like the way he's left in the past. But this one, you really can't be mad at him for. I think, as you said, Rick, the main issue was that they gave him more money to get for like recruitment, because he was actually offered more money with the other team, with the Ole Miss team. So I just feel like if he was offered more money, he should have stayed, right? But so obviously it's the situation. It's a LSU. It's as Dwight was saying, it's a blue blood program. Then on top of that, you're getting more money to recruit players. So all those factors, I just think it was a good business decision by him. The optics may not be great. It's the middle of the season. There may be some tampering involved here, but ultimately, hey, it's just great for the sport because, as you all were saying, it's going to be great leading into next season. All the headlines and all the optics and all the eyeballs that now be on the sport because of this.
I love it, Doc. Let's bring in B-Dot here. B-Dot, take a little bite out of this Lane Kiffin topic. Can you blame Lane? Oh, B-Dot's getting his head. All right, B-Dot, you're back. My bad,
Well,
dude.
wait,
I know.
Rick. Rick, do we ask Dwight what's on the menu today?
we have not. We know there was some during the show chicken, Dwight. But you got your meal all secure before the show, right?
Yes, I ate. I made sure to eat this time before we came on air. I didn't want to.
I think we should keep it going. I like it. Surprise us.
No, I'm not going to do that.
So B-Dot, is it? Can you blame Lane for leaving Ole Miss for LSU?
Man, look, man, I went to school in Tennessee. I was there when he got ghosted on the Volunteers. So this is very Lane Kiffin like. At least he's having a successful season with Ole Miss, and they still have a chance, to make that playoffs, which they most likely are. I can't stand when coaches do that. You feel me? The season's not over yet, and you're already announcing that you're going to be going to another organization. And it's the present day for transfer, so you never know. The whole team may be transferring next year, regardless if he stays or not. But just for distraction wise, when you're trying to go get a championship, bring a bowl championship to Ole Miss. I don't know the last time they won one. Since Eli Manning probably, or didn't Jackson Dart go there with like a legitimate bowl game? So, this is right up Lane's. It's right up Lane Kiffin's lane. It's right up his alley. So I don't like it, but in the end of the day, it's Lane Kiffin. What else do we expect?
Facts, and that was part of my thing as well. Like if you're like really hot and bothered about Lane, I would encourage you to channel your passion in a more productive way, because this is what he does. He's had 5 of the messiest divorces in football over the last 20 years. And by the way, it will get messy with LSU at some point. But obviously it's all hugs and hand pounds right now. Hall of Famer Rick Barry, we're waiting on him to drop in. So in the meantime,
I love it, Rick.
There it was. He just popped on the screen. We had him for half a second.
I'm here.
Rick Barry
with
joining
Dwight.
now.
He's competing with
Oh
Dwight.
boy. Oh, this is exciting stuff, man. This is exciting stuff.
So-
Guys, I go way back with Rick, and we have right now Hall of Famer Rick Barry. Rick, it is Rick Kamla. Upper left, it's A.M. Pfeffer. Upper right, it's Dwight Walton. Lower left, it's Brandon Armstrong. And below me, it's Dr. Phil McDonald, Dr. X. He's the creator and founder of Beyond the Surface and the X-Rated Sports Network. Rick, you're looking great. How are you, sir?
Well, if it was any better, I'd be making a comeback in the NBA and I'd play for the average salary.
I love it.
So you'd be around 10, 11, 12 million a year then, right, Rick? That
It's
sounds pretty good to you right now?
Unbelievable how much money these guys make these days. It's just beyond comprehension.
Yes, it is, Rick. Yes, it is. So I was really excited, Rick. And by the way, just for our audience members, Rick, 12-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA or ABA champion, Finals MVP, scoring champion, Rookie of the Year, broadcasting GOAT. He's had all kinds of success in other realms. And so I was really excited, Rick, to see Joe Lacob and the Golden State Warriors honor you and your entire 1975 Warriors championship team at that game on November 21st at Chase Center. 7 living members of that team, you, Jamal Wilkes, Butch Beard, Charles Johnson, George Johnson, Jeff Mullins, Clifford Ray. Coach Adles unfortunately passed away in 2024. He was represented by his son. But Rick, how did that feel to be honored 50 years later, and you and your guys and the camaraderie and sharing stories? How was all that, Rick?
Well, it's always great to see your teammates from teams that you've had the good fortune of being on, especially this team, which pulled off the greatest upset in the history of major sports. And I defy anybody to find me another team in any other sport that was so ill thought of at the start of the season to wind up getting to the finals and then saying it's the biggest mismatch ever in the history of the game. And then to sweep the team was supposed to sweep us. So it was very special. I'm excited about the possibility of what supposedly a documentary is finally going to come out about our team. And it took 50 years for us to do that. If we were in New York or Chicago or LA, they would have probably done one the next year. But better late than never. But to see my guys, it's just a shame that the other guys aren't there. I mean, I lost 2 of them in their 40s, Phil Smith and Derek Dickey, which is such a tragedy. But of the people that we had on the team with executives and coaches and everything, there's only 7 of us left. So yeah, but it was nice. The fans were very receptive to us, and the Warriors were very kind to bring us out. And it's always good to have an opportunity to get together. And unfortunately, the Warriors blew the game. They had a 14-point lead in the third quarter against Portland and then decided not to play very well from that point on and let the other guys control the defensive boards. But when you play small ball, that can happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
We have Hall of Famer Rick Barry hanging out with us here on Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Rick, I want to ask you about Jamal Wilkes. Okay, at that point, he was a 21-year-old rookie. And his impact on this championship. Talk about Jamal Wilkes and maybe it's some of the reminiscing you did with him a couple of Fridays ago.
Well, it's rare that a team that wins a championship has a rookie who contributes on a high scale for them. We had 2. Not only Jamal, but also Phil Smith, who wound up becoming an all-star player. So to have 2 rookies play a prominent role was very, very unusual. And I used to joke with Jamal. Jamal had that crazy shot where this freaking elbow was way the hell out here. Then when he went to shoot it, he'd bring it back in, and he was a hell of a shooter and hell of a player. Had a great career, obviously, and became a Hall of Famer. And so it took a while for that to happen, but justifiably so. He's in there. But he always jokes about. I always joked with him. I said, Jamal, when I play against you, you hardly ever miss a shot. So here's what you need to do whenever you play. You need to visualize my face on the guy that's guarding you. And then you'll have a good game every time. So it wouldn't be a problem. But a great guy. I mean, undersized. Our team was undersized. I mean, we weren't very big. Come on, Jamal, skinny little Jamal. Me, I wasn't a big, powerful guy. And then we had Clifford Ray, the only guy who had some muscle. And then George Johnson was another skinny center who could block shots all day long. We were not a big, but we led the league in rebounding. I mean, because we made a commitment to defense. I think that's what it takes. I don't think that defense wins championships, but I don't think you win championships if you're not a good defensive team. You still have to outscore the opponent in a game. And so we were very good offensively, and we were very good defensively. And we made a commitment to defense. Al Attles brought in Bud Presley, a coach, Menlo Atherton College, who came in and really instilled this feeling of pride in playing defense the way it needs to be played in order to give yourself a chance to win, because the other guys know it's a roller coaster ride when it comes to offense. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Defense can be consistent. You just have to be focused, and you just have to be willing to put the effort forth and do the things that are required in order to make the other team have to work a little bit harder for their points. And it's what keeps you in the games when you're struggling some. And so we did that. But Jamal was a very integral part of that. I mean, I remember he did a good job individually against Elvin Hayes. No one player beats someone else. I mean, when I hear these announcers, oh, he's a lockdown defender. Well, shit, I never met a lockdown defender in my life. I mean, there's no such thing as a lockdown defender. You can lock down a shooter, but you can't lock down a scorer. And so I've asked all the guys, Dr. J, when I see Doc, when I see the Iceman George, I said, let me ask you, did you ever face a lockdown defender? He says, I don't remember ever facing a guy that was locking me down. So, so it's defense is critical. I think in the history of the NBA, if I'm not mistaken, I did some research, and I think only 2 teams that were not in the top 10 in defense ever won a title in the NBA. And so that's a pretty good indication that defense is an important part.
Let's go around the room here, guys, with a question for Rick. If you guys want to chime in here, it is Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Dwight, you're raising your hand. Hit the great Rick Barry with a question.
Hey, Rick, this is Dwight Walton here. In that 1975-1976 season, at what point did you and your teammates believe that you had a legitimate shot at winning the championship? As you said, you weren't favored to win that year, and you were favored to be swept in the finals, which ultimately you end up doing the sweeping. At what point of the season, or if not during the playoffs, did you think you guys had a legitimate shot at winning the NBA championship?
Well, actually, it was 74-75. 75-76 is like a nightmare to me because we should have won back-to-back championships. But that's a whole other story that we don't have time to really get into. I knew at the start of the season that the people were underestimating us. I mean, I'd be lying if I say, well, I thought we had a chance to win. No, I thought we'd be a much better team than people had thought. But as the season progressed, I realized that, we really have a really good chance to do something special here. And then when we got into seeing what the matchups were going to be come playoff time, I really thought that we had a really excellent chance of being able to win, especially when Washington knocked off Boston. But even then, Boston, I always thought that we matched up really well against Boston, and I enjoyed playing against Havlicek, and I just think they didn't match up well against us. But Washington was overconfident. And so when we got by the Bulls, the championship series was the Bulls series. And we should have won that one. So I gave a game away in Chicago. I mean, we got screwed up where the clock was. They didn't have uniform where the 24-second clock was. And I wind up costing us a game. And then in game 6, when we were trailing 3-2 in their favor, I had a big game in Chicago. We won to get back for game 7. And then I was thinking up the arena. I mean, I was like 2 for 14. I mean, in Al Attles, the greatest coaching move of Al Attles' life was taking me out of the game in the third quarter of the 7th game of the Western Conference Finals. How many coaches would do that? Seriously, how many coaches would take out their leading player, scorer, in game 7 at home for the championship of your conference? And he not only did he keep me out for the whole third quarter, the rest of it, he kept me out into the fourth quarter. We had a double-digit deficit, and my guys played exceptionally well. George Johnson was playing great coming off the bench. Clifford and I were on the bench cheering. And they got it down to, I think, about 6 or something when he finally put me back in the fourth quarter. And fortunately, I played the way I should have been playing the whole game. But here's the thing. It's because some guys might have given up. I said, I have nowhere to go. Back in those days, guys, the GOAT was the guy who screwed up, okay? And now they've changed that into the greatest of all time, which is a whole nother area we can get into talking, which is ridiculous. There's no such thing as a GOAT in a team sport, okay? It's by position. So all this talk about who's better, LeBron or this person, I mean, it's insanity. So anyway, we just played really well, and I knew I had nowhere to go. I can tell you exactly where I was on the court. I took an 18-foot jump shot right in front of our bench in the northwestern corner of the arena, and I said, I got nowhere to go but up from here. I mean, hell, if I missed a shot, I've already missed 12 other ones, and I made that shot, and I think I went 5 for 7 and made a really good pass to George Johnson for an easy basket. George was blocking everything that they took inside, and we came back and won. So that's the beauty of being on a team, is that sometimes when you suck, your teammates can carry you through and you can still get the win, because it's all about the victory. I'd rather score 10 points in a game and win than score 50 points in a game and lose. I mean, so that was a perfect example of why our team was so special, is that we had reserve guys coming off the bench. We went 10 deep. Most teams don't go. They 7, 8 people deep is what most teams do. And everybody contributed. And we just took great pride in our defense. We took great pride, I think, in each other. We were more like a family than anything else. It was more of a college atmosphere than it was a professional atmosphere.
Hall of Famer Rick Barry hanging out with us on Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. Brandon Armstrong, you are next with a question for the great Rick Barry.
What's up, Rick? Man, I got to ask you this, man, because you're one of the greatest basketball minds, the game has ever had. Recently, Kevin Durant said something that set the whole basketball world on fire. He basically said offense is more valuable for winning championships than defense, that scoring is the hardest thing to do, and that playing defense, and I quote, bending your legs and sliding is easy compared to making shots. Draymond pushed back, every analyst, everybody pushed back, but then KD doubled down and said that elite scoring is the real engine of a title team. As someone who played, taught, and studied the game at the highest level, what's your reaction to this? Do you agree that modern basketball has shifted to the point where great offense outweighs great defense, or is the ideal that defense wins championships still fundamentally true when you look at the history of the NBA?
Well, I think I just answered that question in I just talked about. I mean, defense doesn't win championships. I mean, you can't win, though, if you don't play good defense. I agree 100% with Kevin. You have to outscore the opponent to win in a basketball game. And so offense is way more important than your defense, but defense is a critical element. As I say, only 2 teams in the history of the league, I think, ever won a championship that weren't in the top 10 in defense. And they certainly weren't in the bottom 10 or whatever. And they were, if they were really bad, no bad defensive team has ever won a championship in the NBA. I haven't followed what it is in football, but in basketball, offense is way more important than defense. There's no question about it, but you have to be a good defensive team. And if you put your focus on the defense, the offense will take care of itself, but the defense has to be consistent. That's going to help you win games where the offense is struggling some, and it's a critical element to it. And so I agree wholeheartedly with, I wouldn't get to the point of saying defense is easy, like Kevin said, but I would certainly agree with his evaluation that offense is much more critical.
Let's keep these great questions rolling here, man. B-Doc, great question. We're going to Dr. X. We're going to AM. Dr. X, he was first with the hand. Dr. X, hit him.
All right. The great Rick Barry. Hey, man, I used to play video games and would have your character as one of the players that we would have on our all, my team and things like that. So my question to you
Yeah,
is...
but wait a second. It took them decades before they ever got me shooting underhanded free throws. What the hell was that?
You're right. So my question to you, did you actually play the video games? Like, do you have any grandsons or
never played.
grandchildren?
Never played it at all.
Did you ever see it?
But
Did you ever see it or witness it?
yeah, I saw some of the stuff. I never did see the ones when they finally got me shooting underhanded free throws and all. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to that. But
Yeah.
thank God for it, because I mean, basically, everybody makes a few bucks. If you're in any of those videos, they pay a little royalty back and the players get a few bucks out of that. Not that much. The NBA gets a lot more. But it's pretty incredible how realistic they have it now with the technology. It's just insane what they're able to do with technology today. But it was kind of fun. I've had a lot of people tell me that they had played the game with me, and I always have to ask them, well, what version did you have? Was I shooting underhanded free throws or not? That's what I need to know. That's the most important part. Because I can guarantee
I
if they
love
had
it.
me making 90%, if I was shooting overhand, I wasn't a 90% shooter overhand.
Wow. And I have one more question. Being an NBA dad, how is that raising Rick and John? I mean, Brent. Sorry,
Well,
Brent and John.
I have five. I have 5 boys that all played professional basketball. All 5 of my sons got Division I college scholarships and have played professional basketball on one level. Never 3 of them played in the NBA. All 5 should have been in the NBA. My son Scooter, Larry Bird, and Kevin McHale said, "Rick, your son was better than our #1 pick and should have made our team." Unfortunately, Boston had 13 no-cut contracts at the time with 12-man rosters, and there was no room for him, and they had to let him go. And he played overseas until he was 40 years old. But he was a hell of a player. Really good all-around player, really terrific defensive player, could shoot the ball, was a point guard. Yeah, it's a shame he didn't get a chance. And my son Canyon, it was a joke that he didn't get a chance to play. I mean, they had a guy on the Minnesota Timberwolves G League team, on the regular Minnesota Timberwolves team. He was on the G League team, and the guy was making $7 million, shooting 56% from twos, 26 from threes, and 65 from the free throw line, making $7 million. My son was coming off the bench, playing like 22 minutes a game on the G League team. And he was scoring 13 points a game on only 7 shots, shooting 48 from twos, 40 from threes, and 85 or more from the free throw line, and couldn't even get a 10-day contract. So he just figured, he's never going to get a chance. And so he committed himself to 3x3 basketball when USA Basketball approached him. And it worked out for him. He got to be an Olympian, even though they didn't win a medal because Jimmer Fredette got hurt and they only played with 3 guys and didn't have a substitute at the Olympics and lost 3 games by only 2 points. He set some records. He was the leading scorer in pool play, and he set a record for the most points scored in a game in the Olympic history. Of course, it hasn't been a long history, but he had 16 of the 21 points that they had scored and had beaten France, who wound up winning a silver medal. So, it was a great experience for him. And I said, son, maybe you didn't become an instant multimillionaire, but at least you're an Olympian, and you'll be an Olympian forever. That's a pretty special thing. I know my biggest disappointment in my career was not making the Olympic team at 64. It was very political back then, before the pros were even involved. And so to see my son have the opportunity to experience that, and to see him when they won the World Cup, the only gold medal USA hadn't won, he won it with Robbie Hummel and his other teammates and Kareem Maddox, and they seeing his face when the national anthem was being played with a gold medal around his neck and USA on his chest was very special, because I only had USA on my chest one time in an exhibition game against the Soviet Union in Indianapolis in my senior year after I'd finished playing. And I never felt more proud to be an American when that national anthem was playing. I can't even imagine, what I would have felt had it been the Olympics and I had a gold medal around my neck and the USA flag was being hoisted. So, that was kind of special for my sons. But the odds are just so astronomical for me to have 5 sons and every one of them get Division I college scholarships and play professional basketball. That's off the charts. Never happened in any other sport around the world. It's kind of crazy.
Incredible.
Phenomenal genes.
Some
Phenomenal
good berry
genes.
jeans. Yep, the berry jeans.
And a lot of great.
Am I going to
intelligent
get in trouble? Hey, wait a second. Am I going to get in trouble when you start talking about Barry jeans, just like that actress did with her jeans? I don't know. What's
No Sydney Sweeney. You good? We gonna have her on the next show. We'll talk about that later.
Hold on. Rick Barry has pop culture jokes for us. This is phenomenal. Are you serious right now? Rick, I'm very, very impressed. I'm very impressed, Rick.
Well, I may be old, but the thing is, I don't feel old. Age is just a freaking number, and I swear, I really don't. I can't even believe that I'm as old as I am.
I love it, Rick. I say all the time, man. I keep doing young people-ish, and it keeps me young, man. Sometimes that keeps me out real late. But A.M. Pfeffer, enough about me, man. Hit Rick Barry with a question.
Yeah, Rick, first of all, thank you so much for being here. This is incredible. It is really an honor to meet you, first of all. Well, I'm known around here for zag, so I'm going to zag away from basketball. I mean, there's 100 questions going through my mind I want to ask you. But, you are just such an interesting guy with an interesting history, right? I believe you grew up in Jersey, and you lived out a fantasy of a lot of tri-state kids. You ended up down in Florida for your college career, and then you made your way out to the West Coast, right? You spent so much of your time around San Francisco and Oakland, and then back to the East Coast. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, you're living in Colorado now. I want to know. I mean, you have seen it all, done it all. You have 5 sons, like you said, Division I. 3 of them played in the NBA. You've been everywhere. You have owned teams. You've coached other teams. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your favorite place that you've lived and the storied life that you've had? I want to hear about that.
Well, I'm actually a Florida resident now. I still have my place in Colorado where I've been almost 40 years, and that's because I was chasing after my wife, Lynn, who ran USA Basketball for 12 years, and that's where they were based. And so I was in relentless pursuit of her. It took me 5 years to wear her down. I had a lot of baggage to overcome, and but I finally wore her down. One of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. I always think about that movie with Billy Crystal when he's sitting having the breakfast or lunch, and he says, "You make me a better person." And my wife has done that for me. She's pretty special. But yeah, here's the thing. I loved California when I lived there. California probably has more to offer than any state in all of our 50 states. I mean, seriously, it's just an incredible place. And they've screwed it up so badly now. I would no more want to live in California now than any other place where I've lived. Colorado's beautiful where I live in the Springs. You don't have really hard winters. It's a beautiful place right on the side of Cheyenne Mountain before it flattens out into Kansas. I enjoy myself there. I have a lot of friends there. I love Florida, but I get out of here before it gets too hot and humid. I can't deal with that. I learned that in college that I don't want to be here in the summertime. Probably not until I don't come back down here until usually November, depending upon whether there's snow in Colorado. If it's going to snow in October, I'm out of there because I'll never shovel another shovel of snow the rest of my life. But I've always put myself in and enjoy every place I've been for various reasons. To live, I wouldn't want to live. Houston's too humid down there, and it's really flat. There's really not a whole lot down there to say is special. And the mountains of Colorado are special. California, the whole state is amazing. New York, New Jersey, it's a good place to be from. I wouldn't want to live there. It's too populated. The most densely populated area in the United States, I believe, is in the northeastern section of New Jersey. There's so many people per square mile. So I really wouldn't want to be back there. And then I was in, let me see, I'm trying to think of, Seattle, another beautiful place. I lived in Mercer Island for a while. I really enjoyed my time there. The weather's a little depressing in the wintertime. You get a lot of rain, but also a beautiful place. But again, I think in life, you have to make the most of what life presents. Yeah, you can't sit around feeling so, oh man, this is this. No, just make the most of where you are. Feeling sorry for yourself is a waste of emotion, a waste of time. You can't change the things that are there. Make the best of what it is that's presented to you. And that's what I try to do, regardless of where I am. And it's worked quite well. I'm also a big believer in life that everything in life happens for a reason. It took over 2 years for me to get my divorce to be able to marry my current wife. And here's the thing, I'm going, what the heck is crazy about this? If it hadn't taken over 2 years, I never would have been developed a relationship with my current wife to the point where it was strong enough to overcome her fear of all the other baggage I had with, 5 kids, married before, all the other stuff. And so I do believe that sometimes it takes years to find out why something happens, but there's a reason in life that everything happens, and make the most of it. Don't sit around feeling sorry for yourself. I always tell people, if something happens that it makes you sad, cry and get over it and move on. Move on. Why waste energy and emotion on something that you can change? It's already happened. It's in the past. Who the hell wants to live in the past? Everybody says the good old days. Hey, you can keep the freaking good old days. I love the stuff that's about the stuff that we have with technology and everything that we can do in today's world. I don't want to change that for the good old days. Are there things I miss about the good old days? Sure. But I'm making the most of what I have to deal with. And I think if you have that approach to life, you're going to enjoy yourself. And I tell young kids when I talk to people, I said, look, if you don't get anything else out of anything I'm talking about here today, find something you have a love and a passion for. Learn as much about it as you can. That's the foundation you're going to build, that you're going to put down to build on. And then if you have talent and ability, you'll be able to maximize your potential, and you'll wind up having a job that is not a job, okay? You'll wind up doing something that you get paid to do what you love to do. That's not working for a living. You don't want to be somebody who gets up in the morning, oh, yeah, so I got to go to work today. Hey, I got up. I said, I got to go play basketball. Somebody paid me. Now, they forgot 3 zeros on my contract when I played, but I got paid and I was happy. Okay. So that's the way to enjoy life, is just, get something you love to do, learn as much about it as you can, and then you don't work for a living.
Phenomenal advice from the great Rick Barry. Awesome questions, you guys. Rick, one more, and we'll let you go here. I just want to reminisce a little bit. My guys Dwight and AM and B-Dot and Dr. X, I kind of want to bring them in on this too. Like, Rick and I hosted a show on the first year of Sirius XM NBA radio, and I think it was only XM or only Sirius or whatever. They hadn't merged yet. But it was like 2007 or something like that. And we were in this little studio in Secaucus where we did all the NBA TV stuff. And Rick, that's where we forged our friendship, worked together, had all the shows together, talked with the audience members together, talked hoops together. Those days still mean a lot to me, Rick. I still really, they hold a really fun place in my heart, man. I appreciate you.
Well, I enjoyed working with you as well. I've enjoyed working with a lot of the people. I just ran into another person that I was on, did a radio show in KMBR San Francisco, Rod Brooks, who's still doing stuff and doing TV now. And I'm working and doing a show that I help a young guy out named Cyrus Satches, who's one of my producers. And so I've stayed in touch with those people. And, it's kind of amazing, because everybody thinks I'm an asshole, which is really crazy because I have a few writers that wrote stuff about me and think my teammates hated me. And that's probably the one thing that I really am most disappointed in my life is that the way I'm perceived by people. I know who I am as a person. I think you couldn't have a better friend than me. I'm a good friend. I'm a good person, and the fact that these people portray me not to be that way really does kind of hurt my feelings. But then again, I know I can't influence everybody, and you have to know who you are and be happy with yourself. And I am. And people like you, I think, know me and realize, yeah, I may have some rough edges, and I may be. My wife said, "Honey, you're the most brutal, most honest person I've ever met in my life. Problem is, you're brutally honest. You got to get the brutality out of your honesty." And when the greatest advice ever, she said, "You know what?" She said, "Honey, you have to have a filter. And what goes into your brain doesn't necessarily have to come out of your mouth. And so you need to filter it before it goes out." And I've become much better at doing that. And, and there's a lot of people in this world that really do need a filter because they say things that if they had a chance to not say them on the second chance, they probably wouldn't say them.
Well, Rick, I really appreciate that. I just want you to know that, like I've met people and confronted that sort of opinion and narrative, and every single time I don't get like mad and steam come, but every single time I try my best to let those people know that's a misnomer, that's not who Rick Barry is, and and so I love you, man. I do. I know you're a very, very, very good person, and to hear you say that, I hope you continue to get love and the proper respect. And Rick, I love you, man. I just can't thank you enough for joining us here. God bless you and your family. Loved all the trips down about life and talking about your wife and how this has been fascinating, man. This has been well beyond basketball here, Rick. I really appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot more to life than basketball, that's for sure. And it's nice to meet all of you guys. I hope every one of you have blessed upcoming holiday season, whatever it is you're going to be celebrating. And more importantly than anything, wish you and your families good health, because health really is everything in life. Amen. So God bless all of you. Amen. Great to see you. I'm glad you and the family are doing well. And it was fun. We'll do it again sometime.
Love it, Rick. God bless.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much. That was deep, man. That was great. That was
exactly man. We really went beyond the surface there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Beautiful.
Whoa. Like we're live right now. I need a second. Here's why I need a second. Like I've talked hoops with Rick Barry for 25 years, right? And it's awesome. Like I love the historical storytelling and we didn't really get into. I wanted to compare eras a little. We didn't get to that. Maybe next time. But phenomenal question. And hearing the 2-year divorce and without it he wouldn't have befriended his current wife, who I've met. She's amazing. She's just pure. I've met her several times. She is a very, very pure human being. And I haven't heard that, guys. I always knew that Rick didn't have a filter. And I always knew that Rick was brutally honest, okay? I've seen it. I saw it on radio shows where he would sink people's battleships, and I kind of would cringe like, you know what I mean? There might have been a better way to handle that, right? So to hear that his current wife helped him find that filter, hey, I've never known this, guys, and take him from brutally honest to just honest. And guys, it worked. He listened to her. He implemented that, right? He wasn't a stubborn, aloof, arrogant, all-time great basketball player. I'm not changing for anything. No, the man changed. I think that's amazing, and I did not know that. So big credit to you guys for a bunch of great questions, and that was just fantastic.
I love it. Awesome.
That was Rick.
Yeah.
Credit to you for getting Rick on the program. That was, again, when you get the chance to experience somebody beyond the surface, beyond basketball, again, like you said, AM, that was a fantastic question because you got to see a side of Rick that I think most of us wouldn't have gotten the chance to see unless you asked that question, because all of us, basketball is how we see Rick Barry. But to get an inside look at his life and for him to speak about his son so glowingly, and then to speak about his new wife, how she has changed his life and how she's made him a better person. I think That's ultimately what an interview should be about. Getting to know the person that's beyond how most of us see him. So again, credit to you, AM, for asking a fantastic question.
Thank you, Dwight.
All right, fellas, let's move into back into hoops here a little bit. I got one more hoops topic for us and our beautiful audience watching Beyond the Surface here on the X-Rated Sports Network. Right around the corner, we'll get into AM's Money Minute. Should the Bucks blow it up? The Bucks lost to the Wizards. I'm going to go to Dr. X first on this. The Bucks lost to the Wizards last night, guys. The Wizards, okay? The Bucks lost 7 games in a row before beating the Nets to snap the streak. No one in Wisconsin was partying about that. I think I'm wrong. They drink a lot of beer in Wisconsin. Anyway, the Bucks are 1-8 in their last 9 games. 1-8 in their last 9 games. They're 9-13. They're 11th in the East. Okay, they're below the play-in tournament line, and they're just above Charlotte. Okay, Milwaukee and Charlotte right next to each other. We haven't seen that in I don't know when. All right. Your starting 5 the other night was Ryan Rollins, Kevin Porter Jr., AJ Green, Miles Turner, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, scaring a grand total of 0 people on planet Earth. All right, so Dr. X, you first. Is it time for the Bucks to blow it up?
Well, you're asking a Knick fan here, so of course I'm gonna be like, yeah, blow it up. But just to put it in context, Giannis has been out with the injury, so they kind of went on a losing streak while he was there. While he was out with the injury, with the groin strain, I believe. And so when you think of that, you put it into perspective, then you're like, okay, it's still sort of early, but trust me, out of all the games I have when I have my league pass on, I always tune in to see how the Bucks are doing because I want Giannis to be a little disgruntled or just to be a little fall out of favor with the Bucks or just not. He's going to be doing his best, but ultimately he said it in the beginning of the season where he said, in 6 months from now we'll find out, and that was very telling for him to know how many months. And pretty much if you fast forward, that's like around April or March. And that would mean that they're either in the playoffs or they're out of the playoffs. And from that point on, the clock starts ticking, and Milwaukee has to get value for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So the question is, which team is going to be bold enough to use him as a rental? Because I do believe in my heart of hearts that he's going to go ultimately to the New York Knicks as a free agent. And I think another team will do what they did with Kawhi Leonard, and they will likely get him as a rental. And, it's going to be, interesting to see which team is going to have that mindset and where Giannis ends up. But yeah, as a Knicks fan, hey, the more L's they get, I'm happy. So bring it on.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. B-Dot, you're next, man. As we here talk about the Bucks, is it time to blow up the Bucks? B-Dot.
Man, throw that grenade, put your hands over your ears and run for cover, man. Blow that thing up, man. They need to look, man. Like I said before when we were talking about the Bucks a while ago, when Ryan Rollins had that great game, and is it enough to keep Giannis? Man, it's not. Kelly Porter just had 30 last night. I'm happy he's back and he's healthy, but it's not. No, it's not looking good. Okay, it looked like a my career roster. Okay, somebody accidentally simulated 30 seasons. Like, look at the roster that's constructed, man. There's no legitimate second option. There's no legitimate second superstar. No one is on a rise. And I got some friends on that roster, but it's like, no, man. No. It's like, who are you gonna start tonight? Giannis goes out there, he gets 30, 15, and 15, and they still lose, or they win by 2 against the Charlotte Hornets or somebody like that. And yeah, man, all I can do is pray for Giannis. He did have a good. It was something to clap about the other night. When Giannis, the brother went ahead and dunked on somebody that got the crowd, rocking and rolling. But other than that, man, like I said, head for cover, blow that thing up. C4, King John Won that thing. It's time to go another direction, man. And I'm hoping Giannis goes somewhere. Like mentioned, a smooth rental. I love the Kawhi Leonard comparison. He goes somewhere that has a chance to win a championship and he'll be happy before heading back to Greece. At this rate, Giannis might just retire and go back and live in Greece, because he did say he'd rather play in Greece than in the United States of America. Okay, so that's my take right there. Just pray for Giannis. Pray for the Bucks in general. All they got is beer and deer.
They like their beer up in Wisconsin. I know. I'm from Minnesota, okay? I know this. I've got a lot of buddies from Wisconsin. I've partied with them. They get a slightly earlier start than us normal people, okay? I try to crack a beer in the AM, all right? And I'm not blanketing the whole populace of Wisconsin. I'm just saying, y'all like your beer up there, and we know these things. Dwight Walton, you are next. We've got 2 blow it up. Do we have 3 blows it up?
When we're talking about blowing up the Bucks, I don't think we're talking about blowing up the roster. It's simply one name that we're talking about, and it is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, again, I think my cousin Phil slightly mentioned it, and here's the whole situation here. You got to remember, he wants to win, which is code wording for he wants to go to a roster that is ready to win now. The problem with that is, if you go to a team that is ready to win now, they're going to want draft capital and at least 1 or 2 players off the current roster in the rotation, not the back end of the rotation, a major rotation player, 1 or 2 of those. So would that team be willing to blow up their team in order to acquire Antetokounmpo at this time of the year? Now, it depends on how the Bucks are playing come All-Star game / trade deadline. Yes, they've gone 1-8 in their last games, last 9 games, many of which Giannis was not on the floor due to injury. It's a long season. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be situations to where the Bucks lose 8 of 9. Then there's going to be a part of their schedule where they're going to win 8 of 9, and things may seem a lot rosier down the road as we get closer to the trade deadline. Now, none of us are here saying that the Bucks are championship contenders. But again, when he says that he wants to go to a winning situation, that means the team he goes to has to give things up in order to get him. So I think what's going to end up happening, unfortunately for Giannis, is that he's going to end up staying in Milwaukee for this entire season. Then in the offseason, you'll probably, in all likelihood, see Giannis get moved during the offseason. I don't think it's going to happen this season because too many things have to happen. You have the CBA to deal with, the first and second aprons, and to get Giannis, you got to give stuff up. So that's where I think the issue lies. I think you'll see more Giannis getting moved next summer than you will during this season.
Great take. Am Pfeffer, you are up next. Should the Bucks blow it up?
I mean, before I answer this question, B. Dot, who did you say? Kim Jong? Who was it? By the way, I needed to hear that again.
Kim Jong-un, man, don't let this get back to him, okay?
Jong-un. Okay.
Don't let it get back to him, okay?
We got you.
We
got you.
Jason, Kai, make sure we cut that out. Don't let that leak to the wrong hands.
He said he's dangerous.
Anyone watching this show since its inception knows that I wanted the Bucks to blow this up. I was not a fan of them before the season started. I wanted Giannis off the team before the season began. I want him off the team now. And I am doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on my pick. Yes, Dr. X, I'm alongside you as a Knicks fan, but the Chicago Bulls just continue to make more and more sense every day. And Dwight, this can happen now. They're only paying Giddey as their top player, $25 million a year. Throw more aprons on this. They have the money and the means to do this. Are you telling me that Matas Bazulis, Vucevic, Giannis, Giddey, and Trey Jones, that to me is an exciting starting 5. And you could put Giannis at the small forward position in that starting 5. Give him everybody. Give him Kobe White, Kevin Williams, Okoro. Take them all. Jalen Jones. Milwaukee, you get them all. You get Portland's pick this year, which Chicago owns. You get Chicago's pick. They've lost 4 in a row. They're falling down the ladder. What? Dwight, you're throwing up your hands.
No,
Chime in.
because but no. Again, I hear what you're saying, but that's a lateral move as far as I'm concerned. Remember what Giannis? You know what? To keep it real, I would love to see Giannis here in Canada playing for the Toronto Raptors. I think they're primed to make a move like that because they're in transition. They're having a fantastic year, no question about it. And I think the rumors would have been a lot more heavy had Masai Ujiri still been the general manager / president of basketball operations for the Toronto Raptors. But he's no longer there. Bobby Webster is doing a fantastic job and will continue to do a fantastic job. But you got to listen to what Giannis is saying. He wants to go to a winning situation. Do we think Chicago, if they got their roster to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo, is a winning situation? Again, it makes sense in theory, AM. I'm not debunking your theory, but you got to listen to Giannis. Giannis wants to win, not go to a situation to where things are going to be built around him. Just stay in Milwaukee then.
Dwight, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We can't talk out of both sides of our mouths, right? We can't talk about the first and second apron and not be able to match this up. Toronto, great. That's awesome. But who are you giving up? Where do the salaries match up to do that? And if you are giving up certain salaries that are going to Barrett or even Emmanuel Quickly or Brandon Ingram, like you are gutting the roster. The Bulls don't have to gut anybody. Listen to the top 5 that I named. That's your starting 5. Who cares who your second guys are? You build that next year. If you're giving Giannis his second year of whatever's left on Milwaukee's contract and then extend him for the 3 or 4 years that he wants after that, you have plenty of money in Chicago to do that and still fill out 6 through 9. Matas is still only on a rookie contract for 2 more years after this. Vucevic has 1 more year after this, and then he comes off the books, and he's not making even as much as Giddey. Giddey is 4 straight years of $25 million, not escalating the money, and this dude is more than an all-star. He's a superstar. I don't see this as a lateral move at all. This is set up for success for the next 3 or 4 years to Giannis to go Chicago to immediately catapult into a real contender right now. And you can put anybody on that bench and is going to be just fine and give back to Milwaukee any exciting young player. They probably want a Kobe White or a Kelly or Huter in there, or maybe even Isaac Okoro. Fine, take him. Chicago's fine without him. And next year, you can go 9 to 10 deep. Please join the fray.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like the concept, but I just don't think that Chicago roster could win anything. And I think for Giannis right now, if you're going to get him now, it's really a rental. And I think the only team that could really benefit both sides would really be the Golden State Warriors. I think Jonathan Kuminga's contract matches up with the Giannis based off of what he just got this year. And then throwing some players that Steve Kerr refuses to play. And then maybe you have something there with as long as you have Curry, Green, and Giannis, those 3, I think that's a better and Jimmy Butler, that 4 could win it. And you keep like a Gary Payton Jr.
Not going to say that they can't win it, but what are they giving up and what are the salaries that match?
Kuminga.
Kuminga is it, but it's not enough. I mean, you think Milwaukee is going to be like, sure, give us back Jonathan Kuminga for Giannis Antetokounmpo and match up salaries? And you think Golden State with 4 guys 35 or older are just going to be like, here, take the next 4 years of first round picks? Chicago can do that.
It's blowing it up. I just feel like Kuminga is a player that they think, if given the time and given the minutes and is given over the mantle, will be like maybe what they thought Jordan Poole would have been on the many teams he's played at. And I think Jonathan Kuminga just hasn't been given a chance. So if they had that belief system in him, I think they think Jonathan Kuminga is a multi-year all-star waiting to happen. So I think they would, a young and dynamic player like Jonathan Kuminga would be a player they would probably take a chance with. And as I said, I don't know which players that Golden State would be willing to give up, but there are some very talented players that Steve Kerr hasn't tapped their fullest potential. And if you do your homework,
But this is gonna take picks as well. Let's just be realistic about this. This is Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have to give up picks. If we're talking about the Knicks, you're definitely talking about sending Cat back there, which again, I think you said the other day you wouldn't do necessarily 1-for-1. I would in a heartbeat, but I don't see it necessarily matching up in New York either. But at least they do have players that Milwaukee would otherwise be interested in if they're talking about trading him now. Again, this is the rest of this year and next year. I don't understand how this would be a rental or how he just fits in salary-wise to some team that's chasing a ring. To me, it makes a lot more sense to say, hey, if you have another 3 to 5 year run in the NBA before you go back to Greece, go set it up with a team that can do it right now. Your starting 5, to me, if you slide him into Chicago, is absolutely a competitive roster, and you can fill out 6 through 10. No, not this year, but but by the way, not this year, but you can absolutely convince me next year with him on that team, and you got mid-level exception guys 6 through 9 on that roster. You're definitely
he wants to go to New York. That's the problem. He doesn't want to stay in Chicago. Chicago's technically Milwaukee, so if he's gonna leave, he's gonna go.
I love it. We as New Yorkers think that way. Chicago is not Milwaukee. Chicago.
Well, it's not, but in terms of location and being from New York, it is technically Milwaukee to me.
I love it.
As a New Yorker, Chicago's Milwaukee, but. All I can say is that it really doesn't make it's more of a lateral move. Anybody that gets him right now, it's a rental. Giannis is gonna want to go to a team where he wants to go to, and right now he's on record saying it's New York where he wants to go.
Who does Milwaukee have right now that is on Josh Giddey's level? Name one other player besides Giannis who's even close to Giddey's level. No one. Not remotely close, or the ascension that Matas Pouzoulis is on. Who has it? No one. What's that? Vucevic, who's a great center and can really complement even at 35, 36 years old. Who on Milwaukee is like, this isn't a lateral move. This is a major step in the right direction. If you're
not going to be a championship team, that's why I say it's a lateral move. So he would just be rented, and you can see what you can do. Great, but Giannis would not sign there as a free agent. That's all I'm saying. He's not going to sign there as a free agent. So they'd be wasting whatever players they give up.
Two things, cuz. Two things. Where did Giannis say he wants to play New York? Did we hear him say that? Or you read
Apparently
it?
he did say the Knicks.
Okay, hold on. And I don't think he would do that because that kills all trade value across the league. That's one. Secondly, who on the Knicks roster are you willing to give up to get Antetokounmpo?
I don't really care about that question right now. Honestly, I've kind of tabled that and just said, like, you know what, he's gonna come at free agency. If we do anything, he's gonna come at free agency. I'm more concerned about what a team like the Golden State Warriors could do because they're not playing Jonathan Kuminga the way he should be played. So they're not really losing anything. And if Milwaukee has the right mindset, a player like Jonathan Kuminga is a great player to start with. You know, it's almost like James Harden going to the Houston Rockets. No one thought he was going to have that impact. No one knew the type of impact, but they thought Jordan Poole would have the impact, and he didn't have the impact. But at least Jonathan Kuminga is, I think, in that vein. So it's like the Warriors aren't really giving up much in their head because they're not playing the guy anyway. And then Milwaukee says they need a new up and coming dynamic star. And so I just don't know, like to your point, AM, who was Chicago giving to Milwaukee? Who was exciting?
The picks is really what it comes down to. They have to look at this and say, this is the future of the team right now, right? Like, and I think that there's something to be said about the idea of, like, to your point, at least this year, even if you send Giannis to Chicago right now, they're not necessarily going to be competitive, especially if you continue to gut them. Well, that's a good thing for Milwaukee if they're interested in their pick for what's coming this year as Chicago slides down into the lottery, right? And of course, you're going to take Portland's protected pick that Chicago has for the next 3 years as well. And that's something at least you could throw at them, plus the following years, and give them back a Kobe White, who's still a young player and is good. Kevin Huerter, I think, has some value to him. Isaac Okoro has value to him. So these are some guys that if I'm looking at Milwaukee, I'm saying, well, what am I realistically going to get back? Because you're not going to match up superstar for superstar on only a year and a half left with Giannis, unless Giannis agrees to whoever he's going to extend and go further down the line for another 3 or 4 years. Well, how many teams have the capacity to do that? Chicago, for sure, has the capacity to do that right now, and I just do not agree. I really think if you're Giannis's people, you're looking at those four other guys who are going to stay in Chicago as your starting five and can build out another 4 or 5 below them deep in mid-level exception because they have the money, they have the means. To me, that is a massive competitive roster starting in 2026.
We are Beyond the Surface on the X-Rated Sports Network. And let me chime in here, guys. Blow it up, baby. Milwaukee, blow it up. Giannis. Giannis. I love Giannis. I love the dad jokes. I love all you've done, despite not being a really skilled player. You're one of the most determined, one of the strongest. I mean, Hulk smash, baby. I've been saying it for years about Giannis. Giannis, no one is going to be mad at you if you ask out. No one's going to be mad at you. No one, okay? You have served your time like Kevin Garnett did in my beloved Minnesota. Branch out, dude. Form an alliance and win titles. The time is now. The time has come. The time has run out in Milwaukee, Giannis. Giannis has said that he does not want to ask out, right? Giannis is a nice guy. He also wants to be perceived as a nice guy. By the way, Thought Bubble, quick shout out to Giannis. He's in like 7 commercials right now. I saw him in a Huggies ad last night with his daughter. I'm assuming it's his daughter, cute little baby. He's in a Huggies commercial. I mean, he's in a bunch of commercials right now. Giannis, that's completely awesome, dude. All right, Thought Bubble over. He's the nice guy. It wants to be portrayed as a nice guy. On the court, he's a killer. But like off the court, he's a really, really nice guy. Everybody loves Giannis. So he doesn't want to be perceived as that guy that asked out, especially in Milwaukee, where he's loved and it's just been this great city and player relationship and stuff. He doesn't want to do him like that, okay? If the team is going to be stubborn, like the Trailblazers were with Damian Lillard. Remember, Dame was loyal, and then Dame was like, all right, I'm ready. And the team was like, we're still not ready. And then Dame had to ask out, right? And, like, it's cool that the Blazers ultimately traded him, but, like, don't do him like that, dude. He does not, especially Dame in the city of Portland, he didn't want to be, like, aired out like that. No, just trade me, and then he can be mad at you, not me, right? But the team doesn't want – but the whole thing is weird because they're the only show in town. I think they have a soccer team. I don't want to play it like that. But of the 4 major sports, hoops is it, okay? Do you think Blazer fans are going to sour on their team, like, long-term over that? No. They love the Blazers up there. Blazer mania still rages. But if you're going to be stubborn, then Giannis may have to walk down that road and put the bad guy black hat on for just a second. Again, Giannis, no one's going to be mad at you. So for that reason, I think the Bucks need to man up. I think, why am I blanking on his name? Horst. John Horst, their shot caller, who's largely done a lot of great work, built a championship team since the draft picks have been awful. I mean, awful. I could do a better job half drunk on my couch than this guy has done at drafting over the last few years, all right? So you got to man up and make the decision for Giannis, all right? Move him. He's not happy right now. There's no way. He's not going to be happy, okay? Because Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez ain't coming through those doors, Boston Celtics style. Giannis gave Milwaukee a title. They're first in like 50 years. He did his work, man. He did his work. Do this work for Giannis. Whenever the time comes, whether it's this year, next year, don't make him make this messy. Do it for him, okay? Giannis's contract, by the way, 54 this year, 58 next year, then a player option at 62. He's actually so good that player option is a 50-50. And then, Doc, just lastly here, I love where you went about the Warriors. Also, the New York thing is really attractive, but I don't see the puzzle pieces fitting. Because if you got to trade Mikal and OG to get Giannis, and now you don't have your wing defenders. Okay, so now you're taking too much of a hit there. It's cool, trade Cat. I do 1-for-1 Giannis for Cat. Milwaukee's going to want more than just Cat. So I don't see a perfect fit there. I'm with Doc. Like, the Knicks should just wait it out until he becomes a free agent. The Warriors are desperate right now. They don't suck. Charlotte sucks. Washington sucks. But Golden State is so mid, guys. They're so Kansas City Chiefs right now. They're so freaking mid. I mean, they're just 11-10, 10-11, 9-9. It's just all around the 500 mark. They win one, they lose another. They got OKC tonight at home without Steph Curry. How's that going to go? Not well. Okay, so they need something. And Jonathan Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, Will Richard, who's been a real hotshot rookie, Moses Moody, still a youngish player. Heck, Moses Moody's better than Gary Trent and Torian Prince and all the guys that got Milwaukee there. So I think Golden State's got some nice pieces. I haven't looked into their draft capital because certainly you'll need some of that. But if Jonathan Kuminga, he's a better main guy than Kobe White, and I like Kobe White, but if Kobe White's going to be that best guy you get in a Bulls trade, Kuminga's beating that. And then you're going to get other stuff from GSW. So I say blow it up as well. It is time for us to downshift into the AM Money Minute. AM, get us smarter about the finances of sports, man.
Wow, I appreciate that, man. I just did a lot of talking, so I better get my voice back here. And I think, by the way, we're transitioning. We're now calling this segment AM's Money Matters. So we're calling it something new, but I'm excited about this. You know, there was a big story, obviously, that broke last week, and it is deep diving into Matt ISHBIA. His minority investors have opened a pretty big lawsuit against this guy, claiming that he is using the Phoenix Sun and Mercury ownership for his own piggy bank. So I think we're really going to go deep on Matt ISHBIA here. Let's find out how we even got here. But we're really, asking a question. Was this inevitable? Was it inevitable that Matt ISHBIA was going to purchase the Phoenix Suns and Mercury, and ultimately we'd end up here short period afterwards in a lawsuit? Let's get to it here. Let's deep dive a little bit. Okay, so who is Matt ISHBIA? Let's just talk about him for a second. Homegrown Detroit kid, done good, at least at the start of it all. He ends up going to Michigan State. He's there for the business school. He did not get a scholarship, but he earns a walk-on spot on the Tom Izzo squad, and he was actually there in 2000 for the NCAA championship. He was there all 4 years. He was a great glue guy. He was a great bench guy. Everybody loved him. Izzo loved him. He kept him around the following year as an assistant coach. And he thought potentially he'd go into coaching, but he left there and ends up at his father's mortgage company pretty quickly. So he immediately goes there right after college. And I think in 2005, he ends there. But what else happens in 2005? Something big happens out of the Michigan area. Dan Gilbert, of all people, okay? And it's important to know his name and how these two really intertwine with each other. He buys the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2005. Now, this is where the rivalry began. So again, we need to understand exactly what happened here. That Dan Gilbert buys this, and Matt ISHBIA, he buys the Cavaliers. Dan Gilbert buys the Cavaliers, and Matt ISHBIA is a young hotshot guy who starts working at his father's mortgage company. It was a fledgling company. It was just getting started back then. And within 10 years, he's watching Gilbert not only make Quicken Loans a monster in the mortgage space, okay? And it was really what propelled him. We're talking about Dan Gilbert here, to buy an NBA basketball team, was literally leveraging his mortgage company. But now ISHBIA is watching him do this, and he's starting to do the same with UWM. He works his way up over 10 years to become the CEO of the company. And after he becomes CEO in 2013, he immediately turns UWM, United Wholesale Mortgage, into a mortgage giant. Now, again, put this in perspective to understand how these guys are taking mortgage companies and buying NBA teams with that, okay? This is not like you or I going down to the bank and getting our mortgage, okay? The truth of the matter is that if you used a broker or a brokerage, over 50% chance it was gotten from Quicken Loans, which became Rocket Mortgage, or from UWM. That's how big these companies were, and they started printing money, okay? And ISHBIA used some questionable tactics over the years between 2015 all the way through the early stages of the pandemic when the mortgage rates fell. And then he turbocharged the whole thing. And this is where it really gets interesting and how it leads him to buying the Phoenix Suns. Okay, he gets aggressive, and he actually puts a mantra out there, and it's called the all-in policy, where he started stating like, hey, brokers across the country, you have to bring the business to the UWM and not Rocket Mortgage. Okay, and the red flag started right there, and this sent off a frenzy. I mean, this was really pissed Gilbert off, and the rivalry was on. But again, don't forget, ISHBIA does not own an NBA team then, but he's starting to look and get into the whole practice of who he's going to buy into in the NBA at this point. Well, fast forward just a year later, and the NBA stamps in the end of 2022 Matt ISHBIA buying 57% of the Phoenix Suns and the Mercury, okay? But obviously, while this is happening, even despite the red flags, this happens, and right in the beginning of 2023, he takes over in February. And as soon as he does, what happens then? Well, a whole litany of other lawsuits and mess comes to light right after this. The legal tidal wave, literally right after, essentially, between 23 into 2025, he buys. Now, the NBA must have known about this. They had to have ISHBIA's background, but they rubber stamped him anyway to buy the team, right? So what are we talking about here when we're talking about a legal tidal wave? Class action lawsuits, the state attorneys get involved, consumer protection problems, okay? And now, cut to present day, in November of this year, November of 2025, his minority owners file a lawsuit against him that Matt ISHBIA has been using the team as a piggy bank. Well, what does that mean exactly, using it as a piggy bank? Okay, so he is forced a capital call. He's funneled team money into entity he controls. Okay, they're talking about sold naming rights to his own company of questionable valuation, the Arena. We talked about the Arena last year. He operated the Suns at a net loss while spending recklessly. He shifted assets into separate owned holding companies. Yep. And he made business decisions benefiting United Wholesale Mortgage more than the Suns, okay? So here we are, all the way at the end of this. Again, put in perspective that here's a guy who leveraged a mortgage company to buy into the NBA and went head-to-head with another owner who did the exact same thing 20 years prior and essentially watched what he did and wanted to do it even better. We know what he did when he first bought the Suns and gave away the draft picks just to get Kevin Durant there. And look, the Suns aren't doing terribly this year, certainly, but now they are in a lot of hot water, and ISHBIA is in a lot of hot water, and it's important to understand what's going to happen here moving forward, okay? But again, was this inevitable? Well, when you look back at the history of some of the other owners, I mean, you think about Frank and Jamie McCourt when they bought the Dodgers, and then they leveraged their debt to fund their lifestyle before a messy divorce forced them to sell. Donald Sterling, we all know about him and his history. George Shinn of the Hornets, financial mismanagement. Howard Ballard, he owned the Toronto Maple Leafs. George Stepien, the famous George Stepien. They actually have a Stepien rule in the NBA because of him when he owned the Cleveland Cavaliers, where you can't trade back-to-back future assets because of financial mismanagement. And I think, look, again, as far as this is inevitable, yeah, I think we can all agree this was inevitable. Again, 2021, the strong arm tactics, the NBA rubber stamps in the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023 for Matt ISHBIA to buy the team. And then again, the massive legal tidal wave that follows that, followed then by a lawsuit just last month from his minority owners. You're gonna sleep with dogs. You're gonna catch some fleas, guys. We're gonna see obviously where this goes with Matt ISHBIA, but it's important to follow the money. It's important to understand how we got here, and it's important to understand how the NBA might otherwise look the other way and just say, sure, a guy like Matt ISHBIA can own the team, even though, in my opinion, and in such a short period of time, in less than, we've ended up where we have right here.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I did not know about the red flags, AM, about Matt ISHBIA going into his purchasing of the Phoenix Suns. Did not know about that. Did not know most of the stuff you just unpacked to us, and that was brilliance, man. What I know is this. Robert Sarver is one of the biggest scumbags on planet Earth, and he had to go for all the obvious reasons, and the NBA was in a hurry to get him out. And that's why you asked at some point, despite the red flags, I don't know if you asked it or just mentioned, but that really triggered that in my head. Like, the league office is like, okay, we may have another problem on our hands here, but we are going to trade this extraordinary problem in Robert Sarver for something that could just sort of be like a legal thing. Maybe it just kind of all resolves itself, right? But yeah, so they had to replace. And obviously it was cleaner when Ballmer came in and bought the Clippers from the Sterling family, which memory serves, he negotiated basically with Donald's wife. And I believe he just threw like $2 billion more on it. It was like, do we have a deal? And they were like, yeah. Like Ballmer just big boyed him and just was like, I'm taking that. And obviously Ballmer's Ballmer. We love Ballmer. But I hope it works out for ISHBIA, dude. What I can say is this. His aggression upon taking over this job, while appreciated, was horrible for this basketball team. You know, the Bradley Beal trade, it's one of the worst trades I've ever seen. Everybody, I was with Antonio Daniels on NBA radio live when that trade went down. And he's like, Cam, what do you think? I hate this trade. I absolutely hate this trade. What do you mean? They didn't even really give up that much. Dude, this guy's going to be a horrendous fit with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Okay? They're going to ask him to play defense. They're going to ask him to spot up. They're going to ask him probably to play a little point guard. None of these things are Bradley Beal things. And how did it go? It went horribly. And Bradley Beal, I think, missed more games than he played. Any other comments to AM's Money Matters, fellas, before we move on to the NFL?
I love it, AM. I love it. That's great.
Thanks,
That's
man.
great info. But I love how you guys are slick. You changed it from Money Minute to Money Matters, so you get more minutes.
I needed a good 4 or 5 minutes to tell that story, so I appreciate that. You know, and Rick, you bring up a good point. Like, besides what ISHBIA did, thinking back in NBA history to some, you know, when a new owner comes in and they want to make a splash trade, right? Like I'm thinking of like Prokhorov, right? Before Joseph Tsai, when he bought the Nets and the trade he made, giving away what he did back to Boston to get Pierce and Garnett at the tail end of their career. I mean, pontoon the team for years to come, obviously, and that was a major issue. But yeah, I mean, the trades that ISHBIA made and giving away the draft picks to get an aging Kevin Durant and certainly the Bradley Beal contract and trade that we knew was never going to work, horrendous stuff. But again, to me, pales in comparison to what's really going on behind the scenes. And we'll see where this goes. Yeah, to your point, and it's a great point, Sarver was such a scumbag. He had to go. And, you know, it's like, you know, you're trading one devil for the next. But, like, you know, did the NBA get themselves in something that they stepped in it, which they shouldn't have, with a guy that, you know, they had to have vetted at the time. Again, it was so interesting that he bought it at the end of 2022, took over in February 2023, and literally, like, right after he did, like, it was just bang, bang, bang. All these things came out about UWM, and all these things started coming out about, you know, what type of problems he was into, and the government was probing into him, certainly. And it was like the NBA had to have known that through their vetting process. And then, of course, these owners, you know, just a little over a year later are like, yo, man, you're using the team as your personal piggy bank. And they're given a good 7, 8, 9 variations of what ISHBIA is doing. I don't see this ending well in the next 3 or 4 years for the Phoenix Suns or for Matt ISHBIA.
Correa would like to know, AM, is this going to impact the Phoenix Mercury, who he also owns? Will it have any ripple effects to the Mercury of the Dub?
Yeah, no doubt about it. And we talked about that. I obviously mentioned that, and thank you, Correa, for bringing that up. Yes, I mean, it absolutely will affect it. He owns one, he owns the other. I mean, you know, whatever he's doing behind the scenes and how he's using it, he's leveraging both teams. It's not just the Suns. He's leveraging the Mercury as well. And this is going to have an effect on what happens with that team as well. I mean, if Matt ISHBIA is in hot water with his minority investors and legal battles ensue, you know, this trickles all the way down to management of both teams and certainly players of both teams. So not a good look for either squad.
So,
all right,
so
you guys,
here's what I want.
Go ahead, Dwight.
Here's what I want to say, fellas. Do we think that the recent success of the Phoenix Mercury getting to the WNBA Finals and the somewhat shift, and I give ISHBIA a ton of credit for shifting from what he wanted immediately as an owner, was a championship roster, having Kevin Durant and Devin Booker together by gutting the roster. He has now done a complete 360 by going after a coach that none of us knew in Jordan Ott, that is now immediately in the Coach of the Year conversation. He has put together a roster which is a lot more suitable for today's NBA and are having somewhat of a surprising success, although I thought, just looking at the roster, that they were going to be a fringe playoff team. Do you think he's hoping that the success of the Mercury and hopefully the future success of the Phoenix Suns sort of distracts or trumps anything, to your point, Am, about what's going on behind the scenes, which seems to be a lot more important than his basketball success.
Are you asking me directly that question? Yeah, I mean, I think there's no question. He's hoping for that. It's like, watch, let's look over here while this hand over here is doing something else. Yeah, I mean, he absolutely is expecting that distraction to take away from anything he's got going on behind the scenes. But I'm going to tell you something else. And again, I don't know the man personally. I don't think he cares. I think, again, when you reach these levels, it's like these legal battles become Teflon. Your minority investors telling you using like a piggy bank becomes Teflon. That's just how he is. He was aggressive in building UWM, taking them and turning them into a giant so he can go toe-to-toe with Gilbert and Rocket Mortgage and actually surpass them and create, right? Like, he was the one who said, hey, all of the brokers in the United States of America, if you send your business to Rocket Mortgage, you are persona non grata with UWM. Well, that sent the entire mortgage world into a frenzy. A lot of people don't even know about this just because of his nature and his competitive nature and where he was. And then he bought into the basketball world, and now he's strong-arming tactics and using everything he can. But at some point, the bill comes due. If you start doing all of these things and you're funneling money back the wrong way and you're lining your pockets or you're lining the cronies' pockets, it's going to come back and bite you. And it's going to bite Matt ISHBIA sooner than later.
Can I respond to Correa in terms of her WNBA comments here? She's talking about the CBA negotiations currently not going well in the WNBA, but as you know, Correa, I think they've extended their 40-day period to January 4th of 2026, which leads me to believe that the negotiations are going a lot better than what perception is perceived right now. And the reality is, and I think the women, to their credit, are making a lot more forward movement here. They're trying to get the max salary to be at $1 million, and they're trying to make the minimum salary be at $250,000 per player, to where right now $250,000 is the max salary in the current CBA. So I think the current negotiations aren't going as poorly, and I tend to believe because they've extended their 40-day period to January 4th, I think the WNBA is on their way to a conclusion here. They're trying to make sure that this thing gets done before the start of next season. They can have their draft, they can have free agency at any time. They just want to make sure that this doesn't affect the beginning of their season, which is in April. I think we're going to get a conclusion. We're going to get a solution. I think the WNBA, the Players Association, and the league overall are going to be extremely happy to where they get. I think they're coming to an agreement. They're going to get what they want. But the main issue right now is that the players want a pretty decent piece of the pie when it comes to revenue sharing. They're going to increase the max salary. They're going to increase the minimum salary. But the most important thing for the WNBA is they want to get a bigger piece of the revenue sharing pie. Let's see where that happens. But I think they're a lot closer to a negotiation settlement here than we are further apart.
I do not share that optimism at all. I think we're headed for a lockout and all the bad stuff. I hope I'm wrong, Dwight, and I hope you're right. But I have a very, very, very jaundiced opinion of Kathy Engelbert and the powers to be with the dub and the greed that is keeping these ladies from getting what they deserve, what is just obvious that you pay them. I could go on for days and days about it. It pisses me off, actually. It really does. It's mindless. I mean, the top players in the world, they're making $1 million a day probably for a photo shoot or some advertisement they're shooting, and they make like $250,000 for the entire year of playing WNBA basketball. This does not compute. This does not compute in any way, shape, or form. But Dwight, I hope you're right. Let's talk some football, man. Let's talk SHEDUR Sanders. We love talking about SHEDUR over here. The sports world does as well. So last week, all right, you go, you're back home debut. 49ers are coming to town. All right, so the question is, did SHEDUR meet expectations against the Niners? Okay, and you guys can take this SHEDUR conversation in any direction off of this you want. He was 16 of 25, which isn't great, but it's not awful. 149 yards, not great, but not awful. 1 touchdown, no picks. Okay. And Kevin Stefanski announced after the game that he will get a 3rd straight start Sunday against the Tennessee Titans. The Niners are one of the better teams in football. I would call them, they're a near elite team. They're like a tier 2 contender, but they're one of the big boys. They're going to be a double-digit win team. They're going to be a playoff team. They're one of the big boys, okay? And the Browns suck, just like every other year. They're the Browns, just like AM's Jets, okay? They're always going to suck. They're the Browns. They're the Jets. Oh, I'll take it to the Clippers. They're always going to suck too. There's some of these teams that Clippers just caught astray, and I'm not apologizing about it. Some of these teams just suck year after year, and it is what it is. Your halftime score in Cleveland on Sunday was 10-8, okay? So they were in the game at halftime, then it was all Niners. This was a terrible matchup for SHEDUR Sanders, and if you couldn't see that coming down the pipeline, then maybe you need to watch more football. I mean, I was not anticipating 250 with 3 scores, okay? I was anticipating some kind of nickels and dimes like what we got here. SHEDUR did not play well, but he also did not face plant, okay? And he did not turn over the ball. No turnovers, which is very, very important. Guys, as we look ahead to the Tennessee game, and before I go around the room with you guys, San Francisco's 13th in points allowed. Tennessee's 29th in points allowed. I think SHEDUR is going to shh everybody on Sunday with a big game against the crummy Tennessee Titans. But the question is, did SHEDUR meet expectations against the 49ers? Do we have Dr. Phil back? If so, I want to go to Dr. X.
I'm back. Yeah, expectations. I think the expectations were pretty low. I think we were just happy that he was able to win, the first game as a rookie, and that kind of set a record and everything. But he had like a couple good moments, but it didn't blow us away. Like, we didn't think he was going to necessarily beat the 49ers. I think everybody knew that this game was probably going to be just don't mess it up too bad. Don't have turnovers, like you said. So I think the bar was pretty low. But I tuned in, but it wasn't I wasn't shocked or surprised.
Dwight, you can go ahead here. Dwight, come on in.
You know what? To echo what my cousin just said, at the end of the day, whether we believe it or not, he's a 5th-round draft pick. So in terms of a 5th-round draft pick, I think he met the expectations. I think this is going to be a steady work in progress. He's not going to be great. Yes, he went up against one of the better defenses in the National Football League. Well, listen, Joey Bosa and Fred Warner weren't there, but they're still elite. Robert Saleh is turning out to be a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach in the National Football League. But again, for how he played on Sunday, not turning the ball over, had a respectable 150 yards through the air, I think SHEDUR played like a 5th-round draft pick. A lot of us, myself included, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I am all for black quarterbacks. I want to see black quarterbacks succeed in the NFL. Of course, I had higher expectations. I thought SHEDUR Sanders was one of the top 2 or 3 draft prospects coming into last year's draft. He's going to get a chance to prove that against the 29th worst defense in the NFL, the Tennessee Titans. He gets to go up against Cam Ward this Sunday. Let's see how they go mano-a-mano here. But again, to keep it in this proper context and perspective here, as a 5th-round pick, I think SHEDUR did okay. And I think he's just, with more reps, he's going to get better. But he has to be given the proper evaluation. Don't give up on him too quickly. Give him the chance to either succeed or to fail. Give him the proper chance, and with more reps, I think you'll see SHEDUR meet the expectations that I think all of us on this panel want him to exceed or at least meet.
Go ahead, AM.
Yeah, I mean, he met my expectations that he was not must-see TV. Or that game of the Browns versus 49ers was not must-see TV, which I know we spoke about the other day. Did Shedeur Sanders personally meet expectations? Yeah, I think he was fine. 16 for 25, $150, and 1 touchdown. And I mean, really, what you're talking about, if you just want to talk about what is the focus, is not just that San Francisco is an elite team, but Kyle Shanahan is an elite coach. And what's an elite coach going to do? He's going to make adjustments at halftime. And at halftime, if you look at the second half for Shedeur Sanders, he was 8 of 14 for 53 yards. That's nothing. You got no air yards. You're not doing anything. You put the squeeze on him, but he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't pontoon his team. He looked poised back there. He looked like he belonged. He looked like he was, an NFL quarterback playing his second game. He was just fine. But, it's exciting to think that he's about to take on, I think, the 1-11 Titan team. But, the pressure's on Shedeur now. The pressure was off, I think, playing against San Francisco, what the expectations were. And he did just fine. But he better go out there and throw 250 and 2 touchdowns and not put his team in position to lose against a very lowly Titans team. That's going to be more exciting. That, to me, is much more, let's watch the game. I'd rather watch that game than against San Francisco because I kind of expected this to happen.
Totally agree. I've got Shedeur in a couple of my fantasy leagues where you've got to have 2 quarterbacks. And I started him, but I really tempered my expectations. I was looking for low dose stuff, like I said. So he did meet my expectations for that game. Now, guys, let's move on. And I liked your point. Like, I think all of us calculated our expectations appropriately. All right, they got the Niners. Niners, pretty badass team. Let's see what Shedeur can do. He was okay, right? Fine. But this week, I'm not talking about fans and media and our guy Stephen A. Smith. I'm not talking about all that. I'm talking about the Browns. The Browns have said, we're going to rock with Shedeur. We're going to give him, a runway here. But if you have a terrible game against Tennessee, I think we're all hoping that doesn't happen. I would be absolutely shocked if he had a terrible game against Tennessee. Shocked. Okay, so it's not going to happen. But if it happens, Cleveland could then go, all right, maybe we go back to Dillon Gabriel. So it's important for Shedeur to just keep chopping wood, keep playing well. Nothing is promised beyond this week against the Tennessee Titans. So let's move on, guys, and talk a little Aaron Rodgers. And I'm trying to divide the room a little bit here. And maybe we have some disagreements here, but the Steelers lose to the Bills on Sunday. Aaron Rodgers got destroyed. He got a bacchiotomy, Dr. X, one of the foremost radiologists in the world. He got a bacchiotomy. By the way, that's a Hugh Douglas word. Remember the old pass rusher from the Eagles and the Jaguars? I worked with him for a bunch of years in Atlanta. He called it a bacchiotomy. When you just get that guy from behind, you crush him and cave him in the other way. He called it a bacchiotomy. But Joey Bosa gave Aaron Rodgers a bacchiotomy, and his face mask roughed up and bloodied his nose and stuff like that. Total disaster for the Steelers from top to bottom. They're in a virtual tie. They 25-7 was the final score. What a dreadful football game. And by the way, that was a Nance ROMO game, which made it even worse for me. But the Steelers are now in a virtual tie with the Baltimore Ravens, their rivals, at 6-6 atop the NFC North. And this is what Aaron Rodgers had to say about
when
the passing game and his receivers after the game.
Everybody shows up. And when I check to a route, you do the right route, John and I just weren't on the same page. I checked to his in-breaker and he ran out-breaker. John is a true professional, so I'm sure he's sick about that. But, I threw a ball I thought was going to get hit by the wind, and it was 4 yards over Roman. So I got to make that throw. But, we have our meetings every week. We have other opportunities outside of the facility, and look forward to seeing all the boys there.
All right, folks. So let's go around the room here. I want to go to Dwight Walton here first. Was Aaron Rodgers out of line, Dwight, with those comments?
Not to me, he wasn't. He's. I think he's showing leadership. This is what he does. He's always done it. In the past, he has sort of deflected, but in this particular soundbite, he included himself in holding himself accountable to what happened on Sunday. He knows this is the back nine of his career. He looked old and out. He didn't look like for the first time in my life, it looked like Aaron Rodgers didn't belong on the football field. Was that because he was trying to protect his multi-fracture in his non-throwing wrist? Did he not want to get hit? Did he not want to fall down and make the injury even worse? Sometimes, the thing is, you can sometimes see athletic, how quick, how twitch-fast movements are made by athletes. You can see how slow Aaron Rodgers looks on the football field right now. So I think he's feeling the pressure of that. He's understanding why he was brought in. They have the most expensive defensive team in the National Football League. Everything has blown up in their face. And just moments ago, the Steelers announced that they released one of the players they acquired this offseason in safety, Darius Slay. So if things aren't going well, he understands that they still have a chance to at least salvage a playoff spot or winning the AFC North this season. But he knows he's not playing well. He knows that his football career is basically at the end of the rope here. So he's trying to make sure that everybody understands in that Steeler facility that it's now or never. It's put up or shut up. And not only am I going to put you guys on blast, I'm putting myself on blast. We need to try to end this season as strong as we can because it has the chance of falling basically off the cliff the way it seems Aaron Rodgers' career is ending right here before our eyes.
Woo! Those were some tough truths about Aaron Rodgers, but Dwight, I agree with every single one of them, man. Hey, Father Time's a biatch. We know this, man, and he's undefeated as well. Dr. X, you're next, man. Was Aaron Rodgers out of line with those comments?
Well, Rick, let me start by saying it looked like he took a monster hit to the face.
I love it. I love it. Well played, Doc. Well played.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But all in all, I would say I like the way he tempered his statements. He tried to balance them out. He tried to have some accountability while just telling the truth and just saying, you know, this guy is a true professional. I'm sure he's kicking himself and, you know, maybe I could have did a better job at doing this and that. You know, he's saying, I think he said all the right things. I think we're looking for Aaron Rodgers to be that guy that we hate and not be accountable for things. And so I think he's just meeting the bare baseline of what he should have said. So I don't have a problem with what he said. I just think you know, we also have to just realize that he's at the end of his career and this is what's going to happen. But I don't think he said anything out of the ordinary. I think he's been a good leader all year, and we'll see what comes out of it. But you know, the next question is, are the Steelers going to move on from Mike Tomlin? And but I'm sure there's what other people are saying, 29 other teams that would love him as their coach.
Every year we go down this nauseating road with Mike Tomlin. Well, he hasn't won blank since blank and blank, 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 blank. He's never had a losing season. Shut up. It's one of my least favorite narratives in sports. Fire Mike Tomlin. Why? Why the hell would you do that? Doc's right. Think about how stupid Tennessee was to fire Mike Vrabel. How dare them? You're the Tennessee Titans. Fire Mike Vrabel? Are you out of your minds? Hello? They're 11-2 right now, okay, with a young team and rebuilding the whole thing. There's so much malpractice in the NFL. And on that note, we go back to A.M. Pfeffer. A.M., did you have a problem with what Aaron Rodgers said?
I don't have a problem with what Aaron Rodgers said. I have a problem that we're still talking about Aaron Rodgers. I mean, to me, it's a toss-up between Kelsey and Swift and Aaron Rodgers at this point as to the conversation even being dominated at the media. I'm so tired of Aaron Rodgers. But if we must dissect this, I'm going to give him some due. Here's a guy with fractures in his left hand who comes out and plays. And he literally, I mean, his schnoz literally looked the size of the rest of his head after he got plowed by Bosa, and he came back in the game after that and finished it out. So I'll give him some credit for that. As far as getting in front of the media and throwing his teammate under the bus, this is just more Aaron Rodgers crap and the way he goes about things. I mean, at this point, it's just it kind of is what it is. Whether he was right or wrong or out of line or this or that, it's just more fodder that to me is a bit unnecessary. It's kind of a non-story, but it's Aaron Rodgers. I think Dwight made the best point. Like it happened because of desperation. So I guess in that respect, he's not wrong, because at this point they are desperate and they have fallen out of the playoff race because Baltimore has eclipsed them, even though they got killed by Cincinnati. And Rodgers is doing what he can for his team with 5 games to go to motivate in any way that he can to get them over the hump and hopefully back into the playoff picture. That's the best I could say about this.
I don't have a problem with it. This is a sign of the intelligence of Aaron Rodgers. That the guy is, I mean, he's unlikable to some, and he puts himself out there, and he's made some, I guess, controversial decisions, but the guy is smart. And he was smart to throw himself under the bus at the end of that soundbite. I think it hits different if he doesn't talk about missing Roman Wilson about 4 yards over his head. Because you mentioned a guy's name, Jonnu Smith. He's a tight end and a good one. And a lot of people who are banging on Rodgers right now may not even know the difference between an in-breaker and an out-breaker, okay? And I saw a guy online break it down. Aaron Rodgers gave a subtle cue to the 3 receivers on the right. 2 of them saw it. Jonnu was looking down at his feet when Rodgers made the gesture. So Jonnu missed the gesture and then ran the wrong route. All right, so it's just a mix-up. It happens. They're humans. But what Aaron Rodgers did was talk football. He talked football. But, we can't tell jokes in 2025, right? You get, I told a joke, I got canceled. I mean, obviously there's unsavory jokes you can't tell, but you guys get the point. Like it's hard to even tell jokes anymore. And if you're Aaron Rodgers, can I just go to the podium with a beat up nose and a fractured wrist and talk football? ESPN's headline for this read, Rodgers calls out teammates, or calls out wide receiver room or something like that. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He basically said we all sucked today. Anyways, that's all I got on that. I know we're getting long here, but I didn't have a problem with what Aaron Rodgers said. And good on him for throwing himself, in the mistake he made later on in that deal. All right, let's go around the room here with a rant. If you guys have one, I have a mini rant. Do you guys want me to go first, or you? I tell you what, I'll go first. I'll go first. Yeah. It's small this week. It's twofold, but they're small. I want the basketball world to stop trying to punk Klay Thompson. Stop it. Klay Thompson is a GOAT. Klay Thompson, I'm not saying you got to go ask him for his autograph. I'm not even saying you got to go dap him up. But what you're not able to do is talk all of this immature, wild junk to Klay Thompson. Do your homework. Do you know who this man is? Do you know his slot in his place in NBA history? So, a guy named Myron Gardner. Do you guys know who he is? No. I don't know who Myron Gardner is, except for this story. Apparently, he's a human being employed by the Miami Heat to play basketball. And I had no clue who he was. He's a rookie, okay? And this rookie asked Klay Thompson, who the F is you? Bruh. Myron Gardner played 3 games. 3. Klay Thompson has 4 championships. Okay? So Myron Gardner, God bless you on your basketball journey. Or I hope you make mountains of money. But this ain't it, dude. This ain't it. You know what is it? My homie, Caron Butler, current assistant coach with the Miami Heat. We call him Tough Juice. One of the nicest, greatest human beings I've ever met. I love Caron Butler. If he weren't, gigging with a team, we'd have him on the show. He walked Myron Gardner over to Klay Thompson to apologize to him. like you would do to your son, right? If your son acted the fool in a basketball game, you're 8 years old. No, you were yelling at the ref. You got to go now apologize to the ref. Or, you were pissing and moaning about balls and strikes in a baseball game and you got thrown out. No, I want you to go apologize to the umpire for, all that stuff. So good on Karam Butler. Hopefully Myron Gardner learned his lesson and stop trying to punk the GOAT, Klay Thompson. Stop it, okay? And then lastly, Jerry Jeudy needs to read the dang room, okay? Jerry Jeudy is an epic draft bust. Epic, okay? He was a high first-round pick coming out of Alabama where I absolutely loved him. And his NFL career has been a strange, busty odyssey, okay? It's injuries, drop passes, fumbles, all at the most critical time of football games. You guys have seen it, okay? He's had a grand total of one big year in the NFL. That was last year on a Browns team nobody cared about or watched, okay? And now he's throwing his weight around to a young SHEDUR Sanders. And this is all SHEDUR needs, is a veteran wide receiver, getting in his face with a bunch of hand movements and all this kind of stuff. Bruh, read the room. If you're Justin Jefferson and you want to do that, if you're Jamar Chase and you want to do that, I would still recommend not doing that. But you've at least earned the right to maybe do that. You have not. That's the end of my rant. Who's up next?
I got a quick mini rant as well. I like to put a little positive spin on these rants. I just want to give a little respect to Tampa Bay offensive coordinators and the lineage that is being created here. Liam Cohen and Dave Canales have both of their teams in winning records and positions to potentially be in the playoffs. Certainly the Jaguars a bit more favorable than the Panthers, but both are situated to be in the playoffs. Look, you've got Trevor Lawrence and Bryce Young at like 23rd and 24 on the list in total QBR, sandwiched between, I think, Spencer Rattler and Jacoby Brissett this year. And both of your teams have winning records, and you are on the cusp of the playoffs. Tampa Bay, I'm bringing it all the way back to you. Something in the water down there. You guys have done something right. No, but seriously, Canales and Cohen, they're doing something right. This is actually kind of exciting for two teams that would otherwise be laughing stocks if anybody else was coaching them right now. Both of them should have losing records.
Dwight or Doc, do you guys have a rant?
I'll let my esteemed cousin let him end the show today with his rant. I want to shout out the Oklahoma City Thunder. I was wrong. I didn't think they would come out with the same zest, zeal, inspiring, motivational play that they've come out with this season. Did I think they were the favorites to win the NBA championship coming into the 25-26 season? Absolutely. But to do this for the first 18 games of the season without their second best player in Jalen Williams. Kudos, major shout out to Sam Presti, who is just the mastermind behind this whole operation in Oklahoma City. Shout out to my fellow Canadian, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. His streak is now over 90 games to where he scored at least 20 points. And for head coach Mark Daigneault, who has ended up being the perfect leader of this roster, he must love knowing going into any game, my best player is going to score at least 20 points, and more often than not, 30 points, and to give the requisite effort defensively to get that out of your best player on a practice-by-practice and a game-by-game basis speaks to his leadership, his overall leadership of men, to be able to galvanize this group, a group of young players who are trying to, in their own individual rights, establish their own legacy while winning championships, speaks volumes to me. I have nothing but the utmost respect for this franchise to possibly eclipse the all-time winning record in a regular season held by the 2015 Golden State Warriors of a 73-9 record. I don't want them to get the record because I want them to repeat as champion. I would love to see the Thunder go 77-5 and win the championship. But I don't think the human body is prepared to take that kind of physical and mental torture. It is not easy. They make it look easy, but it is not easy. We just see them on our flat screen televisions. What they go through on a day in, day out basis is not easy, and not easy for the casual fan out there to understand and to truly appreciate. I have nothing but the utmost respect for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are currently 20-1, on pace to win 77 games this season. Listen, I am looking forward to seeing how this regular season plays out. Again, they are my favorite, as it is for everyone, to win the NBA championship. And if records come along the way with it, more kudos and much more respect to them. I have nothing but admiration for that organization from top to bottom.
Dr. X, you don't have a rant. Do you have a shout out?
So I actually have a rant, not really a rant, but it's kind of mixed. So AM and I were going head to head in fantasy basketball this week, and so he, oh, and happy birthday, by the way, AM. So everybody knows it's your birthday. So that was my gift to AM. He beat me 10-1, smacked me. But I also want to give my flowers to one of the players I had last year that I drafted by accident was Keontae George. So Keontae George, I drafted him by accident last year, and then I kind of ended up dropping him because he was all over the place. But this year, I drafted him on purpose because I need a point guard, and I don't have a point guard yet. But he actually did. I would say he's up for most improved player. He's been killing it. But what's funny is he gave me a dud on a Sunday when I needed it against AM. It probably would have been 10-1, but he gave me 0 points and 10 turnovers. So now he's all over the internet as like one of these gambling things because they're thinking that he threw the game for somebody. Like maybe someone threatened to break his legs or kill his family. But he had the flu, and it was a back-to-back against Houston Rockets. And then the next game, he finally does well, but it's a Monday and it's too late for me. But kudos to Keontae George, who I think in my book right now is one of the leading candidates for most improved player. And I would give honorable mention to just a magnificent season defensively that Mikal Bridges is having with all the steals and just the things that he's doing that he's now finally getting credit for.
Man, I love it. What a show, fellas. What a show. So I just want to give a quick shout out, super quick, to Jack White and Eminem for the halftime show at the Packers and Lions game. Maybe the best ever. I'm a rock and roll guy, and I love Eminem too. Jack White's a hero of mine, and he's a Detroit guy. And to see him out there wearing blue and, Seven Nation Army and all that kind of stuff, it like gave me goosebumps, man. I usually kind of, if it's a pop star or something like that, God bless him, but that's not really for me. But this was actually like a halftime show for me, for some of the rock and roll guys out here. So shout out to Jack White and Eminem. Any final words, guys? You ready for me to sign off and get out of here?
Take it away.
Who do you have winning the NBA Cup?
We will talk about that next week, my friend. It's a hell of a tease. It's a hell of a tease. We will be talking about the NBA Cup next week. It gets cranked back up Tuesday and Wednesday. It'll be the quarterfinals, the final 8. And the Knicks are looking good, Doc. The Knicks are looking good. But
it's the schedule. It's the schedule. I'm not fooled either, Dwight. It's the schedule. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how they look on Sunday. The game I'm looking for is against how they look against Orlando on December 7th.
You're gonna get beat up, Phil.
Huh?
You're gonna get beat up.
Wendell Carter Jr.
The Knicks are gonna get
Wendell
beat
Carter
up.
Jr. is lurking.
No,
We're
hiring. We're hiring a what do they call it?
An enforcer.
An enforcer.
Yeah, we're hiring an enforcer to take out Wendell Carter Jr.
Well, dude, so Doc, what you got to do is talk to your boy Jim Dolan. I say that facetiously. He may be your boy, but talk to Jim Dolan. Tell him to lift the Charles Oakley band and get Oak Tree back up in there. He's the best enforcer I've ever seen.
Ever.
I love it. I love it. I'm all with it.
I don't think your guy Dolan's rocking with that, though, man. I don't think he's rocking with that. Guys,
No.
AM, happy birthday to you, man. What a show. What a show. On your 39th birthday. You're 39 all over again, aren't you, AM?
Appreciate it. Your words are the man of yours. That's it. Let's just go with that. I like that.
Looking good, man. Look, to our great audience, we really appreciate you guys and girls. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the X-Rated Sports Network. Of course, our show is Beyond the Surface. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Huge thanks to Hall of Famer Rick Barry, for Brandon Armstrong, Dr. X, Dwight Walden, AM Pfeffer, Behind the Glass, Jason and Kai. I'm Rick Kamla. We'll see you Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern with the next edition of Beyond the Surface.